Story 1. Wife cheated with a coworker and asked for divorce. Now she's sad and doing drugs while I'm living my best life, keeping our $300,000 house, while her new BF lost his job and is depressed. Hi everyone, I just recently joined this sub because unfortunately, I got cheated on. Forgive me for any spelling errors, as Dutch is my first language, so I'm not native in English. I'm a 32-year-old male, married to my wife, 27, for almost 6 years now. We've been together for 8 years and 3 months. We have been living together for 7 years now. It was always great. I really feel like we were the perfect couple. We both have a car, good jobs, stable finances, and we bought a house 5 years ago. February 2022. I unfortunately very unexpectedly lost my mother to a heart attack. What followed were very rough months for me, but also for my wife, who was also very close to my mother. And by rough, I mean really rough. In 6 months' time, we only went out like 2 times. We always stayed home, just relaxing on the couch and chilling, watching TV. I wasn't, due to circumstances, happy, but I expected we would get through this. D-Day, as I see everyone call it, was 5 weeks ago. My wife went out drinking with 3 male friends from work about 5 minutes away from our house. I was like, okay, cool, but I'm going to bed soon. In the middle of the night, around 3 a.m., she came home with the 3 guys. I know all of them, and she said she was going out in the city with them. I didn't like it but couldn't stop her. Everything closes at 4 a.m., but even though it's a 15-minute ride, she came home at 5:30 a.m. That's when my suspicions began, even though before this night I never mistrusted her. Today, for weeks ago, she left the entire Sunday, said she was going to some carnival with her mom. I did not trust it, but what can you do? She even left without saying goodbye while I was taking a shower. Later that day, when she came home, she entered our house crying. My first response was, "Honey, come here, what happened? Did something happen? What's got you so upset?" Her literal first words at that moment were, "I want a divorce." After that, we talked a bit about it, both very emotional. I straight up asked her if she cheated, but she said no. She told me she's been unhappy for a longer period of time and hence the divorce. She literally never told me something was wrong with our relationship, so this came as a complete shock to me. Anyway, after the talk, she left and she lives at her mom's house now. For days later, I saw her again because we had a dog for which I alone cannot take care of, and neither can she at her mom's house, so our dog stays at an aunt's house now. Anyway, because I saw her, I confronted her about cheating again, and this time she admitted it. She told me she cheated on me for the entire week since she went drinking until the week later when she left home. She said she thinks she is in love with him. I asked, "What's so great about him?" And the only thing she says is, "Yeah, we have a good connection, a spark. So that's it, I suppose." She also said she feels like she is going through some sort of midlife crisis, doesn't know what to do with her life, doesn't know what she wants. She's going crazy, lol. She died. I don't know if this is the correct word. Sorry. Her hair purple and all out of nowhere. She signed up for lessons to drive a motorcycle. The first week or maybe 2 weeks after, I tried reconciling, if that's the right word, but she wouldn't budge. Every serious message I send her gets straight up ignored. Casual messages I do get a reply on, but they're short responses with a certain arrogance, I guess. I seriously do not recognize my wife anymore. Her personality seems to have changed in literally 1 week's time. She is treating me as if I never existed in her life and like I'm some piece of garbage. Is this some kind of defense mechanism to make it easier for her pushing her problems towards the future? Or could it be she really changed and feels this way now? How on earth is this possible? I mean, I know falling in love is an awesome feeling, but what happens with her in a few months when the honeymoon phase with this guy is over? She really wakes up from it all. I've been experiencing a lot of mixed feelings. Really a lot. I resent her for the fact she cheated on me, and I'm really disappointed. But I also realize and know that the fundamental basis of our marriage was always great. From D-Day to today, we are 5 weeks further. She is still not officially filed for divorce, and neither have I. I'm not sure, but I'm fairly certain she is still seeing the guy she cheated on me with. To be honest, at this moment, I'm torn between wanting to save our marriage and just ending it. At this moment, I honestly do not care if we get back together or if we divorce. So I honestly don't know what to do. If I file for divorce now, I might regret this in the future for being too fast, I suppose. But I also cannot keep living in this sort of limbo in which I'm officially still married but she already left. S289. You really should start the filing yesterday. Make sure you separate your finances and start talking with a lawyer. If you're wanting to save this, which I hope you don't, this will most likely be the wake-up call. Right now she thinks she can walk all over you while you just sit there waiting. Really shows her lack of respect. Also, to be honest, this is making me wonder if there is an underlying mental issue and if she may be manic, but still no excuse. Find your backbone, OP, and stop letting her do this to you. Update 1. Okay, so yesterday I made some calls. In the Netherlands, we have something called a mediator. They handle all aspects of divorce, so this mediator does the lawyer's work, financial, emotional talk, etc. It's like an all-in-one kind of person that helps two people with arranging the divorce. Today we had the talk with this mediator. Unfortunately, my STBX's car broke down, so I had to pick her up. And yes, I really had to for this all to work and get the divorce through this mediator. It is crucial that both me and my STBX are at the meetings with him. Anyway, talk went pretty good in the way I expected. We both expressed our feelings about wanting to get divorced, but the infidelity was never mentioned. This mediator is neutral and does not pick sides, so I did not think it was worth mentioning. Also, in the Netherlands we have no laws against cheating. She still has the same rights that she would have had if she did not cheat. So after the mediator left, we are still sitting together at the table, barely talking. The only distraction we have is from our cats running around. LOL. So after a few minutes, I asked her, "Have anything left to say?" To which her response was, "No." So I said, "Okay, then I think you can go now because I don't want you here." She asked, "Okay, can you take me home?" I said, "No, how you're getting home is your own problem. I am not in the mood to drive 30 minutes taking you home." After this, she looked a bit emotional. I think she expected me to drive her home as normally in the past. I did everything for her. So after that, she called her mom, who's picking her up in about an hour from now. She is out of the house now. She said, "I'm going to take a walk for about an hour until mom gets here to pick me up." While she left, she still looked hurt and visibly emotional, but while I'm staying strong, I still notice a lot of strange behavior on her part, and I think she is still in the affair fog. Despite everything, I still love her for who she was. But for now, I'm staying strong and I'm treating her as if she means nothing to me. Edit. Actually, as of right now, she doesn't mean anything to me. She simply is not the woman anymore that I loved and was loyal to. Anyway, for now, that was the update. I'll keep you posted in the future, and once again, everyone, for the massive response and help on my previous post. Comment, mysterious_maximum_488. I had to laugh at her reaction. What did she expect? Why didn't she call her AP up? I have absolutely no idea. I asked, "Can't AP come pick you up in the neighborhood? Not at my house because he works 5 minutes away from here?" But she said, "No, he is not working today. That's all I know." Update 2. Hey everyone, you all have been an amazing help in my situation. I must admit, I'm feeling very tired mentally, but apart from that, I'm doing better than I would have expected after only 6 weeks. I have a question about my STBX wife's current behavior. For the question, you don't need the whole story, but feel free to read my previous posts. For those unaware of my situation, long story short, my wife cheated. She left me, and we are getting divorced. This was 6 weeks ago. She claims to be very much in love with her AP, and he is in love with her. I strongly believe she is in an affair fog. Okay, now my actual question. Is it normal that my wife, soon-to-be ex, treats everyone around her like trash? Well, except for her AP and her own parents, I suppose. She is obviously treating me bad. She is treating me with zero respect and as if I was the worst husband ever. She claims she's been unhappy for several years, which I believe is complete nonsense. Anyway, to be honest, I don't care about what she's doing to me anymore. It's her life she's destroying, not mine. But it's also affecting other people. My father sent her the sweetest message he had ever sent in his entire life, and she didn't even reply with a thank you, just nothing. After my mom passed last February, my wife would regularly take my dad to an amusement park that's close by. They both have subscriptions for it, so they could go quite often. My dad really loved her a lot, and I'm watching him age by the hour now, which really hurts me. And my STBX wife doesn't even send a thank you, nothing at all. She left him on read. She was also, and said she wanted to remain very good friends with my younger sister, but they haven't been in touch for several weeks. Also, my wife was supposed to spend a day today with her best friend, who is a mutual friend of ours, but now she is ignoring her. Her best friend sent several messages to her yesterday asking if today was still on, but wife sent no reply, didn't even read her messages. She also didn't pick up the phone. So today they were supposed to meet, same story, she doesn't pick up the phone. Her BFF sent one more message asking if she was still coming. No reply. She didn't even read the messages while her WhatsApp status shows she's been online after she sent them. Needless to say, her BFF has been crying all day. She took the day off to spend with my wife to go shopping and having fun. And now this. Is this in any way normal behavior for someone in an affair fog? Or could this be something else? I don't care what my wife is doing. I'm done with her. But this is just so incredibly sad for her BFF. She's been crying on her couch all freaking day because my wife treats her like this. While I'm typing all this, another question comes to mind, but I think I already know the answer. My STBX wife is going around telling people we split up because we grew apart and she hasn't been happy for several years. I suppose this actually is normal for a cheater to tell everyone excuses and not being honest about what happened and how they fell in love with someone else. Oh, I almost forgot something that I believe is really important. Her BFF, our mutual friend, actually lived with us for about 6 months from about November 2021 until April 2022. She just got out of a really bad relationship and had nowhere to stay. We have a spare room, so we took her in. Anyway, my wife and BFF literally talked about everything, including our relationship and sex life. Everything. I speak to her BFF every day, and she has been super sweet and totally honest with me. I asked her if any of what my wife said could be true about not being happy with me for a longer period of time. BFF says it's all lies. Never has my wife ever spoken about it or said a single word to her about being unhappy with me. And keep in mind, they told each other everything but not a single word about being unhappy. So either my STBX wife is just blatantly lying now, I don't know why, maybe to justify her cheating on me and abandoning our marriage. Or perhaps she kept her unhappy feelings a secret for literally everyone except herself. I honestly don't know, but from my experience, I never noticed her unhappy with me, and BFF also agrees with this. Many thanks again, everyone. The support is amazing, and I would not have been where I am now if it wasn't for your support. Now for some comments. Comment 1. OP, your wife is in a fog of sorts. She is currently lying to herself so she doesn't have to face the gravity of what she's done. She cannot be with anyone who could call her out on her deceit. She is refusing to face it, to answer for it, because if she did, she'd soon realize how horrid her choices are. She'd have to reconcile her faulty memory/story with reality. Cheaters lie, but the one person they lie to the most is themselves. They have to justify the indefensible. Comment 2. She needs to justify her actions to herself, so she makes you and her friends the bad guy to make herself feel better. She's probably miserable and can't face it. Update 3. For full story, please read my post history if you're interested. Small summary. Wife of 6 years, 8 years together. Cheated on me 5 months ago. Told me she wanted a divorce because she wasn't happy with me, and basically left me to be with the AP. We are going to sign our divorce papers and make it official 4 days from today. This is going to be a long post as I haven't updated for about 4 months. Well, I made some mistakes along the run and also made some moves that got me my power back and made me respect myself again. For starters, I can say that now, 5 months after the infidelity and the initial shock, I hardly even think about the cheating anymore or am affected by it. So for anyone going through a rough time, please trust me, it does get better and time really is on your side. So after the cheating and our breakup, I made mistakes. I begged and pleaded, got mad, frustrated, and really felt totally out of control and as if she had lost her mind. This lasted for about 2 months, unfortunately. After this period, I made the decision to quit the whining. I told her I thought about everything a lot and came to the conclusion that I would still be open to seeing her and talking to her, that I thought there might still be a future for us, but I also told her I couldn't guarantee anything. I have not contacted her myself for the last 3 months, at least not about casual stuff or the relationship. The only things I reached out about were things regarding our upcoming divorce, financial matters, and our mutual house. I did not just sit around and wait during the last 3 months. I am now 32 years old, and for the first time in my life I went to the gym to work out, muscle building to be exact, as I have always been on the skinny side. I have been hitting the gym with full discipline. I train 4 times a week and have been doing so for the last 3 months. I am also seeing an increase in my muscle and aesthetics, but this goes further. Not only does the gym better my physical appearance, it also helps mentally. At first, I started working out to keep myself busy and distracted, but now, 3 months in, I look better and I feel a lot better about myself. I am regaining a level of confidence I didn't even know I had. So pro tip of the day: when you're going through a rough time, the gym really does seem to work both physically and mentally. Regarding our mutual house, I spoke with the bank and I am able to lend extra money and take on a higher mortgage. I have to pay my ex-wife about $65,000 for the house, but I am able to and I will do it. After signing everything and paying her, I will be 100% the owner of the mutual house, which is worth about $300,000. I am not too happy about having to pay her $65,000, but in the long run, I am way better off by owning my own house, which is worth about 5 times that amount. On top of that, she has no own house anymore. She officially lives with her mom again, but I know she's also staying at AP's house a lot. I am not contacting her, so how do I know? I'll get to that. My ex and me have a mutual friend. We never hang out all together, but we do speak regularly. As far as I know, ex left me to be with AP and basically jumped straight into a new rebound relationship. I'm not sure what's going on with my ex, and at times it does seem she actually has lost her mind. I try to keep my mind away from her, but sometimes the mind wanders where it shouldn't go. Also, at this moment, I suppose I could call AP by the name boyfriend because that's basically what he is now. However, I will stick to AP because that's how it started. Anyway, about AP and ex-wife. Karma is a beach and it's starting to hit hard. When ex and AP first got together 5 months ago, all seemed fine for them. However, tables are beginning to turn. AP is currently at home struggling with a depression, which I know for a fact because the mutual friend showed me screenshots of a conversation between ex-wife and her. Also, the AP is currently out of a job. Even when everything first happened with the cheating and all, I always felt better than AP just because of his lack of morals, and I already had the belief he was worthless compared to me. Well, now I know for sure, which once again makes me feel like my ex-wife has lost her mind. I am not being arrogant, but I am absolutely sure that I am the catch and a way better man than her AP is. A little extra. At the start of their relationship, I was still contacting her and warned her. Well, I guess I was right all along. Not only does he prove himself to be the loser I already kind of knew he was, he also brought something into her life that can devastate her. She is basically digging her own grave. AP introduced her to hard drugs. I know this through the mutual friend. I haven't talked to ex-wife about it. If she wants to ruin her own life, that's her business, but it seems to be going downhill fast. As for my ex-wife, I am certain she is struggling and possibly even doubting her own choices. I hadn't spoken to her or seen her during the holidays, Christmas, New Year's. However, about 1 week into the new year, 2023, she out of the blue texted me if I was home and if she could come over. She came over to my house and the visit was short, really only about 5 minutes. She came by to tell me she spent Christmas Day alone sobbing. She wanted to know how my holidays had been and she asked me how I was doing. I told her my Christmas was okay, but not the greatest. I lost my mom last year and these were the first holidays without mom. So of course it was just okay, but not all that great. But I did tell her I was doing great, which I actually am. So yay for me. This was weird. The only thing I can think about this whole visit and why would she care how I'm doing is if she perhaps does have regrets. Time will tell. I also spoke to my ex's mom. XMIL called me after New Year's to wish me a happy new year and to wish me all the best. I must admit, I did not expect that call, but it was nice to hear from her because she was family for the last 8 years. Mail told me my ex-wife hasn't been all that great lately. Apparently, she is very sad and crying a lot, mourning the marriage. X even said to Amal, I wish it wouldn't have to be like this. And once again, this implies to me that she is having second thoughts. However, only my ex has the power to reach out and make a move, which at this point I don't see happening anymore. The only power I really have is to give her the divorce she herself asked for and walk away and stay out of her life, which I did. I am removing myself from her life, giving her the divorce, and bettering myself every single day. Apologies for the long post, but I believe this is about everything I needed to get off my chest. For days from now, we are signing the divorce papers. And even though I'm really doing great, of course, I am still only human and from time to time still mourn our marriage and my ex-wife. I hate to see what has become of her, but I'm also fully aware that it is out of my control and absolutely not my problem. Let me end this by once again thanking everyone in this community. Many thanks. Without your help, I wouldn't have been where I am now, both mentally and physically. Relevant comments. Comment 1. If she tries to come crawling back, it would be strongly advised not to even entertain the possibility. You say AP introduced her to hard drugs. That's a huge deal breaker. Do you know exactly what kind of drugs they've been taking? If so, look up the effects of those drugs. Usually that's what's been taking both of them down a slippery slope. You say AP lost his job and has serious depression issues. Probably the adverse reaction of those drugs. You say she stopped by to see how you were doing. MAL called telling you how STBXW was crying a lot. Doesn't sound good. Please sign those divorce papers and make everything final before you do anything close to communicating with your ex. I wonder, has she spent or messed up the settlement money she got off the house? Sounds like karma is doing its job. In the meantime, you stay strong and stick to your goals and stay clean. Things will get better real soon. Remember, you're the better man in person. Comment 2. Your wife has no regrets. Selfish people never do. They merely blame others for their poor choices. As for her wanting to come by your place, she wanted to see if you had replaced her with another woman because you have been no contact. She wanted to observe you up close to gauge whether or not you will act as a safety net for her if she shows up to come back. If you are wise, you will decline other visits from your soon-to-be ex-wife. You have nothing to gain by these interactions. In many cases, such meetings only serve to delay and set back a betrayed spouse's efforts to heal and move on. Also, they serve as an opportunity for your cheating ex to attempt to manipulate you and gain information she hopes to use to manipulate you more in the end of your marriage, but do it without the burden of further contact with your ex-wife. Now on to the next story. Story 2. My husband gave me divorce papers and claimed that I cheated on him and he had evidence. But this was all set up by my mother-in-law, who broke up my marriage and tried to steal my ex's money. So, I, 25F, got divorced from my husband, Zach, 27M, this year over some false allegations. I always suspected his mother was involved, but my suspicions were proven true due to one mistake of hers 6 months ago. I thought Zach had received that information about her too, but to my surprise, he only found out now and is in a big fix. Zach and I had known each other since childhood as we lived in the same neighborhood. Our neighborhood was infamous because many low-income families found shelter there. My parents were facing tough times due to losing their jobs, so to cut costs, they moved there with me and my younger sister. Zach's family had lived there for a long time. His mother was into substances and hence stayed at her parents' house, leaving Zach in their care with his biological father nowhere to be found. Zach was a senior to me at school and an extremely bright student, so he helped my sister and me in return for me helping him with his chores. This is how our parents got to know about our friendship, which soon turned into a relationship. A few years later, Zach graduated and moved out for college. He got some funds from his grandparents and covered the rest with a scholarship. His mother, who nobody knew what she did for work, was always away and didn't even bid him farewell. Zach used to FaceTime me every now and then from college, explaining how things worked on the other side of the city, but the calls started to decrease over time. I made a lot of efforts to stay in touch, but realizing there were none from his side, I backed off. Soon after, I got a text from him and he dumped me via text. Dealing with the breakup of such a long relationship was hard, but I bounced back and worked extremely hard at school. My parents, on the other hand, had started doing well with their jobs getting permanent, and it was now a matter of a year or two before we moved out of that place. Zach's mom had been bad-mouthing us all around the neighborhood, accusing us of getting money from doing illegal stuff. After a few altercations with her, my parents decided to expedite the moving process. 3 years later, my college organized a talk with a rising young entrepreneur whose business was booming, and I was asked to moderate the session. When I read the guest list, I realized it was none other than Zach. We attended the talk and went for coffee to catch up. He told me about everything, including how his mother had married an extremely rich man at work who adopted him and funded his business. I told him about my portfolio, and he offered me a job. Considering it too awkward, I declined the offer at first but later decided to join after his repeated insistence. Things were going extremely well for me work-wise, and over the next 6 months, Zach and I grew closer. One night, when everyone except Zach and I had left, he proposed to me, saying that he regretted breaking up with me and didn't want to risk it again by just dating. I was high on emotions and said yes. The next day, we informed everyone, but his mother wasn't particularly pleased. He arranged a lunch for us to get to know each other, which ended up being a disaster. His mother was sweet in front of him but made mean remarks at me when we were alone, calling my family and me gold diggers. I reminded her that we left the neighborhood by working hard and not choosing the easy way out by marrying a rich man. I told Zach about his mother's comments later, which he asked me to ignore. Over the next few months, my relationship with Zach soured because of his mother filling his ears and him believing much of it. I asked him to trust me if he wanted us to stay together, and after a lot of ups and downs, we eloped and got married. His mother was not happy about missing the wedding but kept up the facade at the reception. Zach and I bought a house and began our married life there. One Sunday, I got a call from my sister asking for some seed funding for her startup. I told her I'd think about it and cut the call. Zach heard me talking and asked what it was regarding. I told him I was going to give my sister some money from my savings for her startup. He offered to pay the amount in full, no questions asked, because we were a family now. I was touched by his gesture and agreed. Over the next few months, my sister's business hit rock bottom, and Zach started to worry about his investment in her project. His frustration was shown in his distant and rude behavior with me at home. The fights over small issues increased to the point where we stopped talking to avoid tension. The stressful state of our marriage peaked when he forgot our first anniversary, and I decided to stay with my parents for a while. Zach and I had planned a small get-together post our anniversary for our family and had already planned and paid for everything, so we decided to act as hosts. I got a call from Zach's mother during this, asking me to pack my bags because she had found the perfect girl for her son. I didn't entertain her and asked her to get a reality check. She obviously didn't like it and cut the call. I returned to my house to set up for the gathering and talk to Zach about his mother. Zach was drunk and didn't respond to anything I said. The next day, the tension between Zach and me was so clear that even my distant cousins asked if anything was wrong. I tried to talk to Zach, but he shrugged my hand and left. He came back with an envelope, saying it had proof of me cheating on him. I was shocked and decided to open the envelope. It had divorce papers and some inappropriate pictures of me with another man. I couldn't think of how this was possible but still tried to explain to Zach that it wasn't true. He didn't listen and asked me to leave, adding that he should have listened to his mother and not married into a family of gold diggers. I couldn't comprehend it at all, so my sister decided to take me, and we left. I went back to my parents' house and cried, showing them the pictures and trying to explain that I hadn't been cheating on Zach and had no idea what these pictures were. They consoled me, and my sister, after looking at the picture, told us that they were clearly doctored. Everything made sense, and we decided to talk to Zach the next day. The next day, before my sister and I could leave, Zach knocked on the door. I thought he must have felt something fishy too, but instead, he was there to ask me to sign the papers as soon as possible. We both sat down, and I explained to him that I didn't cheat and that the images seemed fake because even my face wasn't clearly visible. He listened and then replied that since he had seen the photos, He had lost all trust in me and wanted a divorce. I was taken aback and tried to convince him, but he asked me to sign the paper or he'd file a fraud case against my sister for stealing his money. Since we hadn't drafted a contract, I could hear my heartbeat in my head and asked him to please sort it out instead of ending our relationship, but he was adamant about ending our association and left. I was shattered but didn't wish to mess with him because of his status, so I didn't read the papers and sign the divorce documents. I also realized I was 2 months pregnant during this, and my lawyer decided to ask for child support from Zach on top of the alimony he was giving me, which I was unaware of. When we came out of the courtroom, Zach came to me and instead of congratulating me on the child, said he was glad we were ending the relationship because we were gold diggers. I was heartbroken by his behavior, so I didn't respond. Over time, Zach and I got civil with each other and decided on shared custody of the child, which Zach was okay with, while his mother started demanding full custody in return for more money. I was done with her, so I emailed both her and Zach that my child wasn't for sale and I would press harassment charges on her if she tried anything again. Zach, reading this, sternly told his mother to stay out of it. I knew the inappropriate pictures were fake but had no idea who could have created or planted them until I heard from a friend of Zach's that his mother was trying to convince him to get married to a girl in her circle. Zach was pretty bummed out about the divorce and ignored his mother, but now everyone knew how desperate she was because she showed up at his office daily for the past 2 to 3 weeks. On hearing this, I put 2 and 2 together and realized it must be my mother-in-law who created those images to create a rift between me and her son. On one hand, I was infuriated by her and wanted to get even, but on the other hand, I wanted to not let it bother me for the sake of my child, so I decided to let it pass until the right moment. Months into our divorce proceedings, I received an email from my mother-in-law. It was sent to the girl my mother-in-law was trying to get Zach to marry, and she accidentally added my email. The email was a plan to get all of Zach's money with instructions to this new girl on how to woo him because my mother-in-law was on the verge of divorce from her husband and knew Zach wouldn't finance her extravagant lifestyle. She signed off with her number, so I called her and asked why she would do something so cruel to her child. It took her some time to catch up, but she wasn't scared, saying I could tell Zach whatever I wanted, and he still wouldn't believe me over her. She had a point, so I dropped the call and forwarded the email to Zach. I even tried calling him, but he didn't pick up, so I assumed he must have read it and just didn't wish to talk to me. In the next few months, the divorce proceedings continued, and I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Zach was extremely supportive from afar and set up a trust fund in her name. He hadn't married the girl, and I didn't hear much from my mother-in-law, so I considered it a sign that she was finally out of his life. Time passed, and it was now a year, finally confirming our divorce. I had moved out of my parents' house to a new place and decided I wanted to leave the city and start a fresh life after my daughter was a little older. One day, I had an unexpected visitor at my door. Zach. We hadn't talked since the divorce, so it was surprising. His clothes were wet with sweat, and it looked like he had been running. I let him in and asked why he was there. He told me he was sorry for what had happened and regretted our divorce because he now knew the reason. I was confused, but he continued, saying he was visiting his mother's house when things were bad between her and his stepdad. He was going through her closet to find a towel and saw the pictures of me cheating. He was surprised as he had never shared those pictures with anyone but me, so he sneakily brought them home. Then he remembered my accusation that the pictures were doctored and got them checked by a photographer friend a few days later, who proved my assumptions to be true. That's when he realized it was his mother's doing and came running to apologize. I began to cry, not because I pitied him but because I was finally proven innocent. I told him he should have trusted me from the start and that I was amazed when he didn't respond to the email I sent him 6 months ago about his mother. He asked what email. I showed it to him on my laptop, and his jaw dropped. He explained that this was the first time he had seen this email and was currently engaged to the girl his mother wanted him to marry. We both sat in silence, thinking about what to do next. Ultimately, after not talking for an hour, he suggested we could meet once we gathered our thoughts and left. Update 1. Zach and I planned to meet at my house the next day. He told me he hadn't read the email earlier because it was marked as spam in his inbox. He read it in detail and realized his mother had actually gotten some papers signed by him, telling him it was to ensure she would have some shares saved for our daughter. He thought it was weird but signed to avoid his mother pestering him to marry that girl again. He added that he got engaged to the girl once his mother separated from his stepdad and asked him to marry the girl in a drunken state at the hospital because she had gotten alcohol poisoning. Later, when things got better, she got another set of papers signed from him, telling him they were vendor contracts related to his engagement. He read the contracts, and on the face of it, they didn't seem fishy, so he signed. He said he had no idea what those papers were about and was now scared. We both decided it was best to contact his lawyer as soon as possible. Zach's lawyer, who was his stepdad's brother, was amazed at my mother-in-law's audacity to pull off such an elaborate stunt. He sympathized with us but wanted us to know the truth. This wasn't enough evidence against her. I mentioned the email, and he said she could find 100 ways to prove it wasn't hers. The only way to get the papers back legally was a confession from her. Zach and I thanked him for his time and left for our respective houses to think about it and keep it a secret from everyone for now. Update 2. This update is for the next full month. I knew Zach's mother didn't like me much, so I thought maybe getting under her skin could lead to her confessing her whole plan. I got Zach's approval and called my mother-in-law the next day with a call recorder on. She didn't pick up until the third time and was very rude, asking why I was bothering her. I told her I'd get straight to the point as I didn't enjoy talking to her either, and asked why she broke my and Zach's marriage. She was frazzled and didn't know what to say. I continued, saying I knew she had something to do with it because she was planning to take all Zach's wealth, and I just wanted to know why breaking our marriage was crucial. After a few failed attempts to lie, she finally spoke the truth. She said there was no way Zach would consider anything she said while I was in his life. She said he trusted me the most, and breaking his trust in me made him weak and vulnerable, allowing her to get to him. She admitted to getting the images doctored from a friend and sending them to Zach's office. I was sad to hear this but tried to get more details about the email from her. But she didn't say a word, so I cut the call. I sent Zach the audio, and he listened to it and told me about his plan to get some information from his current fiancée. The next day, Zach asked her to meet him at a fancy restaurant, since they hadn't been on any dates before the engagement. He started by asking her questions about her family. She couldn't answer the most basic questions about her parents, and Zach got frustrated. He asked her to tell the truth before it was too late, considering how quickly his mother was moving with her plan. She broke and told him she wasn't actually the daughter of his mother's friend but a college girl who met her at yoga class. She said she confided in his mother about her financial struggles. His mother offered a solution: pretend to be from a rich family and marry Zach to eventually get his money. She said his mother talked badly about him, claiming she was the victim whose fortune was stolen by him, which motivated her to get it back. Zach got emotional and offered the girl money for her education if she chose to side with him in exposing his mother. She said she'd think about it and left. Zach dropped by my house after this and told me everything about his new fiancée. Right then, he got a call from her saying she was ready to work with him because she didn't feel okay cheating someone like his mother was cheating him. Zach thanked her and told her he would contact her with the plan soon. Update 3. I told my sister about all this in hopes of getting some suggestions, and she came up with a plan to catch my mother-in-law confessing her plans to steal Zach's fortune. I took Zach on a call while my sister described the plan. She said since we had access to Zach's fiancée, who was also his mother's accomplice, we could ask her to set up a private meeting with Zach's mom, asking her to either tell her the details of the plan or get it all revealed in front of Zach. If Zach's mom agreed to talk to her, she could set up secret cameras at her place, recording the conversation and catching her in the act. Zach was on board and asked his fiancée if she was willing to do it. She agreed and we proceeded with the plan. She, we'll call her Stacy, called Zach's mom and asked to meet up to discuss the plan further but faced an objection, asking why she was so interested. Stacy said she wasn't sure of Zach's mom's intentions and wanted to be part of the complete plan to avoid being scammed. Zach's mom hesitated but agreed to meet her at her house the next day. They set up cameras behind vases and paintings and waited for Zach's mom. Zach's mom came and sat down. Before Stacy could offer anything, Stacy took the hint and asked about the documents Zach's mom got signed. She asked how Stacy knew about it, and Stacy told her Zach had informed her. Zach's mom replied that the documents were of Zach's property and his bank savings. Stacy asked if that wasn't enough. Zach's mom said to maintain her lifestyle, they needed to do a lot more. She added that her next plan was to get Stacy and Zach married, make Stacy the nominee for Zach's company, and then get Zach killed in an accident so she would get the money automatically. Stacy was shocked but continued asking if such extreme measures were necessary. Zach's mom justified planning his murder by telling lies about Zach. Stacy didn't say much to avoid blowing her cover and simply agreed. She asked for the plan ahead, and Zach's mom replied, "We'll think about it soon." As soon as she left, Stacy called us and showed us the footage. Everyone, including my sister and me, had tears in our eyes thinking of how terrible my ex-mother-in-law was and how hard it must be for Zach to witness this firsthand. Zach stayed strong and said he had another plan to catch his mother red-handed. Update 4. Zach, after seeing the video, was sure it was enough to get her caught but wanted to show her true colors to everyone before handing her over to the police. He said since his mother was after his company, he would pretend to give it to her after he died. This way, Stacy would have to marry him, and he could catch his mother red-handed in front of everyone. We all agreed because it was his revenge for everything he had gone through. The next day, we showed the video to his lawyer and told him about the plan. He was fine with it as long as no one got hurt. According to his plan, Zach called his mother to his house, stating it was urgent. His mother came, and he told her how empty his life had become after divorcing me. He told her he wished to leave the business and everything to live a quiet life in the mountains. His mother tried to change his mind, but Zach said his decision was final and he was going to make her the nominee for his wealth once he passed. Zach's mom was surprised but happy. He said he wanted her to sign some papers before he could start the process and would throw a farewell party to meet everyone one last time after his will was in place, to which his mother agreed. The papers he got signed were those she got signed before, and he got access to them via Stacy. Soon after her meeting with Zach, his mom called Stacy to kick her out of the plan. She said she would pay Stacy once she got the money. Stacy asked what her plan was for Zach, and in excitement, she blurted out how she planned on pushing him down the terrace at his farewell party, thereby owning all the wealth. Stacy informed Zach over text. Zach did all the work. He got the papers signed by her, made his fake will, and planned the whole party for the next month. He set up a light show for his farewell party just to throw the spotlight on his mother when she pushed him. His plan was to cut the lights while he and his mom were on the terrace, then replace himself with a dummy, which she would push. He also had night cameras installed for proof later. Everything was planned. Zach greeted everyone and declared his intentions. His mother followed with a very emotional speech about her son. I was invited with my daughter, and Zach's mom didn't miss a chance to make me feel less than her, but I ignored her. By the end of the night, she started looking for Zach to talk privately on the terrace. Zach was conveniently already there, so she followed him. She started with how he was the love of her life and how hard it was to let him go, then switched to money-focused themes about maintaining her lifestyle. Once we cut the lights, she considered it her perfect chance to push Zach down the ledge. Zach quickly replaced himself with a dummy, and we heard a thud. Zach clapped, and the spotlight was thrown on his mom hanging over the ledge to see if it was Zach who fell. Lights came back, and seeing the dummy on the floor, everyone looked up at her. She was flabbergasted and attempted to run, but Zach caught her and presented her to everyone. He gave a speech explaining everything while his mother continued to throw a tantrum. I called 911, and Zach's mom was finally taken into custody. Update 5. This will be the last update on this saga. After the party, nobody bailed out Zach's mom, including her husband and her parents. She was presented in court soon after, and on the basis of the petition against her from Zach, was charged with attempted murder and financial fraud, to which she pleaded not guilty. Zach's lawyer told him that even though she claimed to be not guilty, with the evidence they had, there was nothing to worry about. Zach's stepdad also finally filed for divorce from her. Zach gave Stacy the money for college and decided to take care of her education financially. He also came back to my house and asked if I wanted to give our relationship another chance. I said no for the time being since he had been through a lot, but assured him he would always have my support. Zach agreed and left. My sister's business had started to flourish, so she returned the money she had taken from Zach. Zach decided to take a few months off from work and went to stay at his cabin in the mountains. I, on the other hand, have started working with my daughter being old enough and am planning to move to another place for better opportunities. Now on to the next story. Story 3. My boyfriend said that he doesn't want children, and then I found out that he's been secretly dating his coworker for months when my friend and I caught him hugging her and kissing her. Hello everybody. I, female 27, have been together with my boyfriend, male 27, for 5 years now. We moved in together quite early in our relationship, and everything was great until November of last year when we decided to get a cat. I had been wanting to have a cat for a long time, and in 2021, I asked him if we could get one. He told me he was not really a cat/pet person in general, and he didn't think it was a good idea since we both worked full-time. It made sense at the time, so I accepted and never mentioned it again until August 2022, when he suggested we should get one, as he knew it would make me really happy. I was over the moon, and we got our kitty in October 2022. In December 2022, we got a second kitty. Cats are very social animals, and they are way happier if they are not alone. My boyfriend was not very sure about it, but I convinced him. I love them so much. Yes, they are a big responsibility, and yes, they do make a lot of work, but I don't care. They're 100% worth it. I am the one who takes care of them. My boyfriend does not need to do anything. He had to feed them a couple of times since I was away for work, but that's it. A couple of months ago, we had a big fight. We have been having some trust issues. I caught him lying a couple of times, hence my trust issues, and the situation was really tense between us. During this fight, he told me he did not feel comfortable anymore at home because of the cats. He told me they make him nervous when they run and play. They're kitties. It bothers him that we have now a cat tree and that there are cat toys laying around the house. You get it. During this fight, he also told me he wanted us to give the cats away. I stopped him and told him that I am not the kind of person who gets pets to give them away later. My family and I have always had pets, and our last dog was with us for 17 years until she passed away. I love pets, and I see them as a part of the family. Once they are there, they do not go anywhere. Since the day that I got them, they became my responsibility, and I could never do that to them. I would never forgive myself. I told him we would find a solution and make it work. Again, I am the one who takes care of them. I clean the cat toilet twice a day and always vacuum and dust everything once I get home from work. I keep the house clean, but cats are cats. You cannot control them like a dog. Don't get me wrong, they are not bad-behaved cats. They are really cuddly, and they follow me everywhere, but they are cats. The situation between us was still tense because of the trust issues, but I thought that we were on good terms regarding the cats. A month ago, we had another fight that had nothing to do with them, but he told me he could not live with them anymore and they had to leave. He says he can't relax when he gets home from work because they are there. I reminded him I would not give the cats away. I also reminded him he was the one who suggested getting one, and I do not think he is being fair. He also knew how it was to live with cats. His parents had 3 when he lived with them. He told me he knew it was his idea, and he regretted suggesting it. I thought it could not get any worse, but then it did. He said, "If I am being honest, I do not think I even want to have kids." I froze and asked if he was being serious. For me, it was clear that we were on the same page about kids. My fault, I guess. We had never had a serious conversation about it, but when we spoke about our future, I always mentioned kids, and he never said he did not want any. He said it was not a 100% no to kids, but he could not imagine his life with kids right now. I told him I could not imagine my life with kids right now either. We are still young and are focusing on our careers, but that I am 100% sure that I want to have kids in the future. I have always known I wanted to become a mom. I told him I did not want to pressure him, but that I would really appreciate it if he could be honest with me and with himself since this is kind of a deal breaker. I also told him I did not expect an answer very soon since it is a life-changing decision. But in 1 year or 2, I would like to know for sure. We left it at that. Today we had another conversation/fight. As I mentioned, the situation is tense between us, but we have been trying to make it work. Today he told me once again that the cats have to leave. I said they are not going anywhere. He said he couldn't believe that they are more important to me than him. I told him it has nothing to do with it, but that they are not toys you can take or give away as you please. We went back and forth for a while. Then the topic children came up again. This time he told me he is pretty sure he does not want to have any, not now, not in the future. I didn't know what to say. He asked me if I was 100% sure I do want kids. I said yes. I asked him what he expected me to do now. Give the cats away and then not have any pets ever again and not have kids either. He said yes. He asked if he is not enough to make me happy. I told him he makes me really happy, but I have to be honest with him and with myself, and I know I would not be happy without kids. There was a lot of silence. He's gone with a friend now. I'm home thinking about everything we said. This is a deal breaker, right? I am starting to doubt myself. What if we go separate ways and I never meet anybody I want to have kids with? I do not know what to do, and I am really scared. Is this the end? 3 months ago, I was sure we would get married and have a family together. Last year, I was waiting for a proposal. I also live in a foreign country. I already lived here before we met. I didn't come here because of him, but it makes it 1,000 times worse being away from my family and friends. I am really sorry if my English is not perfect. I am also really sorry because of how long this post is. I just needed to get it all out. Thank you so much if you find time enough to read it and give me your advice. Date 1. I still can't believe I'm writing this right now. Many of you asked what was the reason for the trust issues. I don't know if you read the comments, but I caught him lying about having drinks with a coworker. We had already had fights about it. He knew what my position was about this girl. This happened in December of last year, 2 days after my birthday. Yay! I forgave him and told him that if he wanted me to trust him, he needed to be 100% honest with me. I also asked him to keep their relationship 100% professional. I know they work together and will still have to have contact with each other. 2 months later, I saw he had received a pretty long message on his phone. Out of curiosity, I asked who it was. He said it didn't matter. I'm sorry, what? I asked him to show it to me and he didn't want to. If you don't have anything to hide, what is the problem? Yes, he was texting with her. He told me everything had to do with work. He also told me they just had kind of the same humor and just got each other. I guess there's nothing wrong with that, right? I told him once again that I didn't have a good feeling about this girl. I told him clearly what my boundaries were. He told me he understood, he didn't want to lose me, and he loved me. I believed him once again. My mistake. So now we come to yesterday. After our conversation, he told me he needed some fresh air and went out. He didn't come back in several hours, and I thought he had went to a birthday party with a friend. I thought this was kind of weird after such a conversation. Anyways, around 9 p.m., I get a text message from a mutual friend asking me if she and another friend could come over. I thought this was kind of weird. We always did things together in a group with our partners and other friends, but never alone. I told her they could come. Once they arrived, I saw immediately there was something really wrong. I could tell they were really nervous, and one of them was about to burst into tears. She told me she was really sorry, but she needed to tell me something. Turns out, she was out with his BF and some friends when she saw my BF drinking a beer on a terrace. He was sitting at a table with a girl. She thought it was me and went to say hi. Once she got closer, she could tell it was not me. It was his coworker. They were holding hands. She knew about my issues with this girl. I had told her what happened. She went up to them and said hello in a sarcastic way. She says their faces went white, but he quickly changed and asked if they wanted to join them as if there was nothing wrong with the fact they were together. She said no and left. Then she texted me. I just could not believe what I was hearing. I had been so sad the whole day, but now I was just feeling angry and disappointed. I didn't know what to do. I could not stay at home just waiting for him to come back. I also didn't think he thought this friend would come directly to tell me what she saw. The girl stayed with me, and I told them what happened earlier in the day and how I could not believe that the first thing he did after that was going to her. I knew I needed to see them with my own eyes and make sure he knew I saw them. I knew approximately where this girl lived, so I asked them if they would come with me on a drive just to check it out. We arrived, and I kid you not, after 2 minutes of us being there, We see them coming around the corner driving an electric scooter together. He was driving, and she was hugging him from behind. They didn't see us. Once they parked, they started walking to a building where she lived. I saw him hugging her from behind and giving her a kiss on her cheek. I also saw him putting his arm around her shoulders while they were walking. Everything is on video since my friend started recording when they arrived. I ran up to them and told him what a complete a-hole he is. His face, once he saw me, was again completely white. He asked what was going on. What do you mean, what is going on? I told him I didn't want to see him ever again and left. We were in the car about to leave as he came around the corner to talk to me. He told me once again he did not understand what was going on. I asked him what he was doing with her, holding hands and kissing her on the cheek. All in all, his explanation was that he went to her looking for some advice regarding the kids' topic. He said he did want to lose me and was trying to figure out what to do. He told me she was his only female friend he could trust. I told him that still did not explain why they would hold hands or why he would kiss her on the cheek. He said that was his way of thanking her. Are you kidding me? I am still in shock and can't believe that really happened. I am so happy my friends were there too and made a video because, of course, he has already tried denying what I saw. He came home, we argued about it, and he kept saying he just wanted to get some advice from a female friend. He said he was sorry about the kiss, but he denied putting his arm around her. I told him I have it on a video. He also kept saying he never kissed her on the mouth or had sex with her, so he hadn't done anything wrong nor crossed any boundary. I told him there were many other things that were also crossing a boundary, and I reminded him how I had clearly told him before where my boundaries were. I really cannot believe he thinks he has not done anything wrong. He also said he cannot believe I was thinking about leaving because of some cats and some kids we don't even have. I'm completely heartbroken. I never thought he was this way. If I have been so long with him, it is because I really thought he was a good guy. He was always supportive, kind, attentive. He made me feel loved, and now everything has turned into a nightmare. Update 2. Hello everybody. I know it has been a really long time since I have given you an update, but there has been a lot going on in the last 2 months. The last thing I told you was that I saw him with his work colleague on the street. Well, after that, he continued to deny for weeks that there was something going on between them and that he only wanted some advice from another woman. I started to doubt myself and almost believed him, but I had this feeling inside that was telling me there was much more to the story, and my gut feeling was right. To summarize, I found some receipts from a zoo and train tickets going to another city. The train tickets were for May, and when I checked the date, I realized it was a holiday. I remembered I had the day off, but he told me he had to work. He left for work and left me alone the whole day. He came back really late that day. There was no explanation as to why he would have gone to that city without telling me. The zoo ticket was from only a few days before, so already after I had seen him with her on the street. I confronted him with the receipts. I could tell he was caught off guard by his reaction, and he admitted he had gone to that city and to the zoo with her. So I asked him to stop being a coward and to tell me the truth for once, that I deserved a little honesty after all. He admitted to secretly seeing her a couple of times since December. He says 4 to 5 times. I think it was a lot more. He also admitted to kissing her, but only 4 times, which, of course, I don't believe it was only 4 times. His excuse was that he had been having so much stress at work and at home. Things weren't going great either, so he just needed to disconnect and do something else without thinking about problems. I told him that was not an excuse for cheating on me. Also, in his opinion, what he did is not cheating. I felt heartbroken but also relieved because for once, I felt I had a little bit of truth. I also felt relieved to know that I was not crazy and that my intuition was right the whole time about this girl. Since then, he has apologized and has told me he loves me and that what he did was the greatest mistake of his life, and he will forever regret it. I told him a mistake happens once, but 4 to 5 times is a conscious decision. He has asked me to give him another chance and that he will show me I can trust him and to think about how happy we were together before everything happened. I told him I had been very happy with him, but that everything is ruined now. That is a really summarized update, but I think you get an idea of what has been going on the last months. I don't really want to go into much detail since it all still hurts me a lot. On a positive note, I have now finally found an apartment for me and for my cats. It is unbelievably difficult to find one in my city. We will be moving out soon, and I am excited for what the future brings. I also have had my first therapy sessions, which I am also really excited about. I have a lot of contradictory feelings and emotions that I need to work through. I thank all of you for your time reading my posts and for all of your nice words and pieces of advice. You all made me feel less alone in a really difficult time, and for me, I know I now need time to heal, but it will only get better from now on. Now on to the next story. Story 4. I'm a doctor who never wanted kids, but my husband promised to be a stay-at-home dad, but changed his mind after our baby was born, so we had a big fight. I, 36F, am a neurologist, and I absolutely love my patients and my job. I believe there is no greater honor in life than being able to help others. The road to my medical degree was not easy, and it was paved with many rejections. I was a troubled teen in high school, and I didn't get accepted into any college my senior year. I had to work my way up, starting with remedial classes at my local community college. When I finally got into medical school at 26, I was absolutely thrilled. I met my husband, 37M, in my third year of medical school. We have been married for 4 years now. My husband works in marketing, and I make 3 times his salary. From the beginning of our relationship, I was very upfront that I was unsure about having biological children. My dream was always to adopt from foster care, and my husband seemingly understood this. However, after his best friend had a baby boy last year, he began to really press me on having children. I was initially very against this idea because I was just beginning my career. I wanted to wait a few more years before revisiting the topic of children. In August of last year, I found out I was unexpectedly pregnant due to a condom breaking during sex. I was initially considering an abortion, but after many heartfelt conversations with my husband, we decided to keep the baby, and he would quit his job and stay home until our daughter was old enough to start preschool. There were several factors that went into our decision to have him stay home with our daughter. I make significantly more money than him, so financially, it just made more sense. I am in the first few years of my career as an attending physician. After 4 years of med school and a 4-year residency, I am just starting to practice on my own, whereas my husband has been in his career for 15 years. I was very clear I had absolutely zero desire to stay home and be a housewife. I respect stay-at-home mothers, but my work is my life, and I would go crazy at home all day. This just isn't a lifestyle I want whatsoever. Finally, I am not comfortable putting my child in daycare until she is old enough to express herself verbally. As a victim of molestation when I was young, I just do not trust people enough to leave my daughter in the hands of strangers when she would be unable to report abuse/neglect. Our daughter is 9 weeks old today, and I am preparing to return to my practice in a few weeks. This weekend, I left my husband alone with our daughter while I attended a medical conference out of state. The conference was amazing, but when I returned home, my husband began acting weird. Today, when our daughter was napping, I pressed him to tell me what was wrong. He absolutely broke down and said he doesn't think he can do this. He expressed how trapped, alone, and overwhelmed he felt all weekend. He now wants me to extend my maternity leave and is talking about trying to get his job back. This made me freak out, and I asked, "Well, what will we do with our daughter now?" He responded by suggesting I leave my practice and work from home. I said, "Absolutely not," and he suggested daycare. At this point, I just lost it and screamed, "If I knew you were going to back out of your promise to take care of our daughter, I would have never had your child." I know I completely overreacted, and I would never trade our daughter for anything. I love her so much, but I am so upset with my husband, and I'm not sure how to move forward at this point. Additional information from OP to address some health/medical issues. A few people have brought this point up, and I'm just going to address it here. I started hormonal BC at 17 when I lost my virginity. Unfortunately for me, I'm the kind of woman who gets practically every single side effect in the 3-page pamphlet. I tried a bunch of different kinds, but I eventually decided it was not for me. I got a copper IUD installed for a few years, but I ended up getting it removed early because it gave me severe cramping. I've been using strictly condoms for the past several years now, and I have never had a problem. Also, this may be TMI, but I never allow my husband to ejaculate into the condom while his penis is inside me. This is for extra safety/peace of mind. Maybe 2x a year, he will come too fast or unexpectedly and cannot pull out in time. The night we conceived my daughter, he came unexpectedly into the condom. I didn't think much of it because it happens occasionally, but now I'm really rethinking some things. Comments where OP has replied. Commenter 1. How does a neurologist work from home? NTA. He's quite happy for you to feel trapped, overwhelmed, and alone. Time for him to grow up. OP. If I transition to a WFH role, I would likely have to give up caring for patients as a neurologist. I'd probably end up doing consulting work for a health insurance company. Sounds soul-sucking, I know. Commenter 2. Why in the world would you go to work after 9 weeks? Don't you have a year of paid maternity leave? P. Not in America. Honestly, you're lucky to get any paid maternity leave in this country. Commenter 3. NTA, but OP, I would consider the red flags here. He wanted a child, and you unexpectedly got pregnant. Now he wants to go back to work, and the deal unexpectedly changed. Plus, why he felt alone and overwhelmed when he stayed home, but seems no concern for you to stay home and surely feel the same. Update. September 29th, 2024. Hi everyone. It's been a few months since I made my original post. I did not expect my post to get so much attention, and I was frankly overwhelmed by it. Thousands of comments and hundreds of DMs, and I even found my post screenshotted and uploaded on Twitter. To everyone who sent me kind and supportive DMs, thank you very much. I appreciate it more than you know. To those who sent me nasty DMs criticizing me as a mother, you are part of the reason why 40% of female doctors go part-time or leave medicine altogether within 6 years of completing their residencies. Women can want a career and a family like men have had for hundreds of years. This does not make us evil monsters. To those who sent me DMs seeking medical advice, I am not comfortable giving medical advice over Reddit, and I sincerely hope that you find the care you need. To those questioning why I was not on birth control, I addressed this more in a separate comment, but hormonal birth control does not work for every woman. Even board-certified OB/GYNs will testify to this. After trying my best with every birth control under the sun for nearly 10 years, I decided condoms and pull-out would be enough. Was this a stupid decision? Yes, but 40% of doctors are overweight, so we aren't always the best at taking care of our own health. Regardless, I have no regrets. I love my daughter and would not change a thing. Okay, now for the actual update. A few days after I made my original post, I realized how awful what I said to my husband was. No matter how upset I was, I never should have used our daughter as leverage in an argument. Even if I had to quit my job tomorrow and become a single mom, I would still do it for her because I love her more than anything, and I would choose her every time. I still feel awful that I said this. It was truly a terrible thing to say. Another thing I dropped the ball on was not being more patient and accepting with my husband. For some context, my mother came from out of town to stay with us for the first 8 weeks after I gave birth. My husband did contribute greatly. I'd honestly say they both did 50% of the work with the baby for the first week or so while I recovered. After that, we split the work between the 3 of us. So for him to go from 2 people supporting him to being on his own for a whole weekend in a matter of about 10 days was obviously a huge shock, and I should have realized this. His complaints about feeling trapped, overwhelmed, and alone are the exact reasons why I have no desire to be a SOM. Yes, we had a deal, but I should have given him space to express his concerns openly without me flipping. I stayed at my sister's with our daughter for a few days after the fight to give my husband some space. He would come to visit her every day during this period, but we agreed not to talk yet. When I came home, I apologized to him for mishandling the situation. To my surprise, he actually apologized too. He told me he never intended to back out of our agreement. He just became so overwhelmed that he was unsure he was capable of caring for our daughter properly. He apologized for giving up so fast and suggesting that I WFH. He told me that no matter what we decided to do, I should not leave my practice. At the end of his apologies, he said that he wanted to give being a stay-at-home dad another shot. We then had a very long conversation about how we would handle things from there. He told me that caring for our daughter was not the overwhelming part. It was trying to keep up with the cooking and cleaning that was difficult. So we decided to hire a maid and buy one of those meal kit delivery services. He joined one of those new parent support groups to help reduce his isolation. 3 times a week, my sister-in-law has agreed to come over to babysit for a few hours so he can go to the gym or have some me time. I also told him that if at any point he feels like he can't be a SHD anymore, to please tell me. I made it very clear that while I would be slightly disappointed, I would be much more disappointed knowing that he was burned out and upset while caring for our daughter. Since this, we've also taken steps to strengthen our marriage, going on date nights once a week. I don't yet feel comfortable leaving our daughter with anyone besides family, so most of these date nights include long walks while pushing her in the stroller or Netflix and takeout on the couch. But hey, it's been working. Addressing the whole poking holes in the condom thing. No, I do not think this happened. I honestly did not even bother asking my husband this. I felt that an accusation of this magnitude would be detrimental to our marriage, especially when it was already in such a fragile state. My husband has agreed to get a vasectomy, so we don't have any more happy accidents. He is scheduled for later this year, and we are abstaining from PIV until then. This whole situation has made me realize I needed to go back to therapy, and I've been seeing my therapist for about 6 weeks now. My CSA hadn't impacted my life for about 8 years prior to this, but having my daughter and dealing with postpartum anxiety has stirred up some really dark thoughts. I know that I am being overprotective due to my trauma, and I want to work through this so that I can be a good mother and a good partner. A lot of people told me to leave my husband, and I'm sure a lot of people reading this may think that I'm making a mistake. I know that I am not. My husband had a weak moment and broke down, but he does not have a pattern of being unreliable, dishonest, or unsupportive. He supported me through my final 2 years of med school and throughout my residency. Please try to remember that my post highlighted the worst moment in our relationship. It did not show the 8 wonderful years we have had together. Comments where OP has replied. Comment 1. Oh dear, this is all very Stepford. OP. About a year into my husband and I dating, I was studying for the USMLE Step 2 exam. This is an absolute monster of an exam. 9 hours in one day, testing you on all your clinical knowledge. Your residency match heavily relies on your Step 2 performance. Obviously, I was beyond stressed. About 6 weeks before my exam, my husband and I had dinner reservations for 8 p.m. I was exhausted and accidentally fell asleep at 6 p.m., standing him up for dinner. At 9 p.m., he knocked on my apartment door to see if I was okay, and I broke down as soon as I opened the door. All the stress and anxiety came flooding out. I was sobbing in his chest, telling him that I could not finish medical school. He spent all night comforting me, and he continued to be there for me the entire time. He brought me meals twice a day so that I did not have to cook, did my laundry every week, ran my errands, took care of my cat, and gave me many back massages because I spent so much time hunched over my textbooks. He emotionally supported me the entire time. He never let me lose sight of my dream and did everything he could to help me through my difficult time. This is who my husband is, and now I am returning the favor. I am supporting him however I can as he makes this difficult transition into being a SAHD. Call me a Stepford wife all you want, but it's just not worth it to me to throw away my family over one horrible fight. OP on if she will have any more kids, and if not, any procedure to be done. OP. Nope. My husband is getting a vasectomy. Tried copper IUD for a bit, but it gave me horrible periods. I am so sick of family planning being 100% on women. I do not want to deal with the side effects of hormonal birth control for another 10 years when hubby has agreed to a quick outpatient procedure. Now on to the next story. Story 5. Parents canceled my engagement party, aunt steps in, and family gets furious. 2 weeks ago, my boyfriend of 5 years, Caleb, 27M, proposed to me, 27F, and I said yes. When we told our families about it, they were obviously overjoyed. My parents even told me they were going to throw an engagement party for us. A few days ago, however, they just canceled the party without even consulting me first. All because my sister, Penelope, 25F, was going through a breakup. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have had any issues paying for my own engagement party and hosting it myself. But my parents had promised something to me, and they ended up not delivering on those promises, and that's why I was upset. If they had at least spoken to me before canceling everything, I would have been more understanding. But what they did was just weird. They just called me up and informed me that Penelope and her boyfriend had broken up a day before. My parents had decided that it would be best to avoid even talking about the wedding in front of her until she was in a relationship again because she was pretty much devastated. So, hosting an engagement party for us was out of the question. The party was supposed to be happening yesterday, and the invitations had already gone out a week ago. But none of that ended up happening because my parents had already canceled everything without even speaking to me, and I was very upset with them. It might have been insensitive of me if Penelope had been with her boyfriend for a really long time, but they had only been dating for 8 months. She was kind of serious about him, but I don't think it's my fault that he wasn't. The crazy thing was that the reason they had broken up was because Penelope had asked him if he planned on getting married to her anytime soon after learning that I was engaged. That would have been a bit too much for any guy to handle, and I really can't even blame him for making a run for it because Penelope was taking things a little too fast for his taste. He had asked her to slow down several times, but she just didn't seem ready to listen to him. So I can't say that the breakup was his fault. Penelope should have used her common sense as well. It seemed unfair for our parents to cancel my engagement party because of something stupid like this. I had told them that what they had done was not fair, and I had even referred to their reasons as stupid and petty, which made all of them pretty mad. We got into a fight, and since then we haven't been on speaking terms. I had provided a guest list to my parents for the invitations, but I ended up having to email them all myself and tell them that the party had been postponed indefinitely because I knew that I was definitely going to have that party. I just didn't know when, since now I would have to plan it all over again by myself. However, there was one person that all of us missed, since neither of my parents invited them, nor did I. This actually happened to be quite lucky for me because now my family is regretting everything. The person that we missed was actually my aunt, my dad's older sister. Since she pretty much lives off the grid, she has no social media and she only uses her email for official or formal work, never for personal use. So, if somebody has to reach her, they have to call her like in old times. Even when we had to send her an invitation, we had to mail it to her physically and then call to confirm. But after we got into a fight and stuff, both my parents and I forgot to disinvite her, and she ended up showing up at my parents' house yesterday. That was not good news for my parents because she's quite strict and, most importantly, she has a huge inheritance that my dad had been hoping to get his hands on. My father, 51M, is the youngest of 3 siblings, my aunt being the oldest, 62F, and I had an uncle in the middle, but he passed away a couple of years back. My aunt used to dote on my father because he was the youngest and also because by the time he was born, my grandparents were in their late 30s. Let's just say that my dad was not exactly an unexpected pregnancy, so his parents were not able to give him the kind of attention that he required. That's where my aunt stepped in, and she was the one person who had always been there for my dad ever since he was little. After they grew up, she never got married or had a family of her own, but she had made a lot of money while she had been working, and even now she was running her own business. So, my dad had been hoping to inherit all of that when she passed away. It was something that my aunt had even discussed with my dad, and he knew that if she had to name somebody as her heir, it would be him. But now all of that's been thrown into jeopardy. That's because they decided to be honest with her about why the party had been canceled. When she showed up at the house last evening, my parents had obviously expected everyone to believe that what they had done was quite reasonable and understandable, but like most normal people, my aunt called them out and told them that she couldn't believe that they would treat me like this. Then she decided to come over to my place, and I obviously welcomed her with open arms because she and I get along really well, and even though we don't really get to speak often, we only talk whenever I call her up to check up on her. It's always great to talk to her. When she came over, I hadn't actually planned on telling her anything about the fallout that I had with my parents, but she was the one who brought it up. She told me that given what had happened, I shouldn't invite them to any of my wedding events since they clearly don't respect me. I was a little shocked by that because all my life I'd only seen her getting along great with my dad, but last night she seemed very upset. Then I asked her what was going on since it felt like there was something much deeper than the issue at hand. So, she told me that being the older sibling, she had had to sacrifice a lot, and her parents had never appreciated it because they believed that, as the older sibling, it was her duty to make sure that she put her brothers before herself. That's what she had believed her entire life, but now she regrets not taking out enough time for herself because she realized that most of the time it's only her trying to talk to my dad, but he never reaches out to her by himself unless he needs her help for something. She has tried to comfort herself by telling herself that he has a family to care for, so he can't obviously take out as much time for her as she can take out for him, but even then, it still feels bad. I totally understand where she's coming from because I think that my dad doesn't speak to her or visit her as often as he should. Also, both my sister and I are grown-ups now, and I don't think he can use his family as an excuse because we are doing pretty well on our own. My aunt also told me that when she was younger and when her parents were still around, even they had a favorite golden child. And it was not her or my dad. It was the middle child. Her younger brother was their favorite because he was a boy, and it could have just as easily been my father too, but he was too young at the time. All her life, she has felt like she's been dealt the short end of the straw by both her parents and her siblings. Now she felt like it was her duty to tell me that I shouldn't make the same mistakes, and I shouldn't take the same kind of disrespect like she did, because once I start forgiving people just because they're family, they start to take advantage of it, and eventually it reaches a point where you can't go back from. While she was talking about all of this, I really felt it because that's what I had been about to do as well. But after that conversation with her, I decided to take her advice. All cards on the table, I'd actually thought that by the time that my wedding actually came around, I would have been able to make it right with my family again. I didn't know how. I guess I just assumed that they would apologize to me, and if they didn't, I would just let it go because I really wanted them to be present at my wedding. But after speaking to my aunt, I realized that I wasn't fine with what they had done, and I needed them to acknowledge and apologize for it. Until that happened, I wasn't interested in having them be a part of my life, and I definitely did not want to end up as a doormat for my family and invite them to my wedding regardless of how they have behaved with me. So, after my aunt's visit last night, I decided to send a message to my parents and Penelope and tell them that until they acknowledged and apologized for their behavior, I was not interested in having them be a part of my wedding in any capacity, and I would appreciate it if they stayed away. This morning after I sent that message, I told my aunt that I had set a boundary, and she told me that she really was proud of me and hoped that I would be able to fix the situation with my family eventually. But until then, I need to stand my ground and not let them walk all over me. She had spent the night here since she lives quite far away, and I didn't want her driving back home last evening. So this morning when we spoke, it was in person. After that, she left, and she also told me how disappointed she was that after she had scolded her brother last night, he didn't even bother to call her to make amends with her. I could really understand that. Both of us were very upset with our families. Then a few hours back, my dad showed up at my door to ask me if my aunt was still here or not, and I had to tell him that she had already left in the morning, and she had been very disappointed that he hadn't even bothered to call to talk to her and try to mend things after fighting with her last night. All of a sudden, when I said that, he flared up and he started screaming at me from outside the door and told me that this was all my fault and that he was sure that I was the one who had instigated my aunt against him because just now she had called him and told him that given his recent behavior, she had changed her mind about including him in her will and had decided that she was going to leave everything to me instead. It was a huge deal because, as I said, the inheritance that she was going to be leaving is pretty massive, and my dad had always expected that it would come to him, but now he was being disappointed because of his own behavior with her. I yelled back at him as well, and I told him that he had no right to yell at me, especially when it was his own behavior with her that had led to this situation. If he had just had the decency to at least try and speak to his sister after she left his house last night, then maybe this wouldn't have happened at all. I didn't even tell him that he had to apologize to me. All he had to do was talk to my aunt, but he couldn't even be bothered to do that much. Even today, the only reason he had come all the way to my house was because my aunt had sent him a message saying that she would disown him, and not because he actually cared about her as a person. I told him that he deserved this, and for the past many years everyone had noticed that it was always she who had tried to keep in touch with him, and he had barely cared about her. So now he has no right to complain, and he also didn't have any right to try and make me the bad guy here, especially after what my parents had done with the whole cancellation of the engagement party and stuff. I told him that I didn't have to say anything to my aunt to turn her against them. She was already pretty upset with them when she came by, and in fact, it was she who told me not to have any ties with them until they apologized. so I didn't really have to try and badmouth them to make them look like the bad guys to my aunt. They had done that job well enough themselves. My father seemed quite surprised when I told him about all of this, and his initial instinct was obviously to accuse me of lying because it was just impossible for him to believe that his dear sister would ever say anything against him. But he had screwed things up for himself with his behavior, so I had nothing else to say to him. I told him to leave, but instead of just going away, he started crying on my doorstep and told me that I had turned the only family he had against him. He seemed genuinely upset, and he told me that what he had done with regards to canceling the party and stuff was not even as bad as what I had done, and told me that if my aunt seemed upset with him, the least I could have done was try to contact him and told him to come over so we could all sort things out as a family. I had never heard my father crying the way that he was this morning, and I haven't been able to get it out of my head even though he left after a couple of minutes. Now I feel guilty because I feel like a lot of problems would have just been solved if I contacted him last evening and we all sat together as a family and tried to clear the air. But instead, I just vented to my aunt. I guess that made us more bitter or something. But again, I don't really see anything wrong with what I did, but I still feel guilty. My fiancé doesn't think that we did anything wrong, but I still want to get a second opinion. So, I defer not calling my father over so he could sort things out with my aunt. Edit. So, my parents haven't always had a favorite, and honestly, they were very different up until a few years back. The reason that I had even bothered to have a relationship with my parents for so long is because growing up they were very different, and right now they're very different. Growing up, my sister and I were always treated equally, and Penelope did not get preferential treatment just because she was younger. It's only recently that things have started changing, and I was scared of giving up on my parents so quickly because after all, family is all that you have, and I was under the impression that this is just a phase and they are going to go back to treating us normally again. Now, obviously, that seems a bit unlikely, but yes, my relationship with my parents earlier had been pretty normal, and that's why I had even agreed to let them host an engagement party for me. As for why they have started treating us differently now for the past couple of years, I don't really know. If I had to pinpoint it, I guess it started around the time that Penelope graduated from college. But because COVID hit, she was unable to get a job, and she was pretty depressed for a whole year. There were days when she wasn't even able to get out of bed. At the time, she had been living with our parents, and I had been staying with my boyfriend. Because of the quarantine and everything, we couldn't even see each other that often and had to stick to video calls. But I guess that made my parents a little softer towards Penelope because she's obviously a lot more fragile than I am. But I think they forgot that they have 2 daughters, and both of us need them equally to be there for us. It's not just her that has to be taken care of. It's a bit disappointing, but it's not like I can help the situation. Even my relationship with Penelope has been affected because of this, because I guess she has started to think of herself as more important than me just because our parents treat her like that. Earlier, we used to have a normal sibling relationship, and yes, we did have a certain degree of sibling rivalry, but it was nothing out of hand. Recently, though, she has started becoming a lot more of a brat, and it's just upsetting. I had managed to ignore this change for the past couple of years, but now I don't think I can do that. Update 1. Thank you so much for reaching out to me with all the comments and advice. I have decided that I don't have to get in touch with my dad or apologize to him or whatever. I don't know why he thought that I owed it to him to contact him and try to set things right with him when my aunt came over to speak to me, because he had the opportunity to do it himself. Before she came over to my place, she had been there with him, and he could have just acknowledged the fact that he had made a mistake and apologized to me and cleared it with her. But he chose not to do that and stuck to his decision of acting as if whatever he had done was perfectly justified. So for him to try and blame me for the situation right now is just ridiculous. It's been a couple of days now, but earlier it had only been my father who had shown up at my door and had been blaming me for whatever had happened. But now both my parents and Penelope are accusing me of sabotaging his relationship with his sister on purpose and brainwashing her against him. Luckily, they haven't shown up at my doorstep yet, but I don't think there's anything stopping them for long. It's also very upsetting because my dad knows the truth, and my dad knows that I didn't say anything to turn my aunt against them. She was already quite mad with them when she came over. She herself had said to him on the phone call that it was his behavior that had upset her, and I didn't have anything to do with it. But still, they're trying to make this all about me and make me look like the bad guy who is out for revenge. It's just petty, and I know that they are doing this to get on my nerves, and they are succeeding. I have even blocked them, but even then, they have found ways to annoy me by using burner phones and social media accounts. At this point, I don't even know what they want from me because I don't think an apology is what they need. I have spoken to Caleb about it, and he thinks that my parents want me to speak to my aunt and try and make things right with them, and until that happens, they're just going to try and keep getting on my nerves, and I think he's right. But there is no way that I'm going to contact my aunt and tell her to speak to these people because I don't want to do it myself, so why would I want her in that position? I guess I'm just going to have to tough it out and deal with it until they give up, and I'm fine with it as long as they stay away from me and don't show up in person now. Update 2. Since harassing me on social media wasn't going to cut it, my family decided that they were going to go public with their hate against me and started recruiting people. Apparently, from what I have learned from a couple of relatives, they have been sending messages to and telling them that if I invite them to any event in the future, they must decline because I'm a really hateful and petty person, and I have brainwashed my aunt against them by feeding her a bunch of lies. They have been telling people that my parents had kindly and politely requested me to postpone the engagement party because my sister had just been through a terrible breakup, but instead of respecting their wishes, I decided to go through with the party anyway. But since my parents did not want that, they had decided to tell me that if I wanted to have the party, then I would have to fund it myself, and apparently, I threw a hissy fit over that, and then I called my aunt to come over, and then I started brainwashing her against my dad, and now not even my aunt is willing to speak to him anymore. Obviously, that paints me in a very bad light, especially given the fact that they were making it seem like I had asked them to pay for my engagement party in the first place, but I hadn't. They are the ones who had offered it. So I spent the last couple of days clarifying and telling everyone the truth every time somebody was reaching out to me to confirm the story. It got tiring after a while, so I decided to put out a statement on my social media account as well because I didn't want to have to constantly clear the air with other people. So far, I've been trying to avoid contacting my aunt and telling her about any of this because she doesn't really have any social media, and I know that she likes staying away from all of this. But I felt like things were getting to a point where it was becoming too much for me to handle, so I had to reach out to her and I had to tell her what was going on so she could take a stand for me as well and tell people that I hadn't done any brainwashing. It was her own decision to cut my dad out of her life because he was the one who did not respect her. After speaking to my aunt and letting her know what was going on, she told me that she was going to speak to my father and tell him that what he was doing was just going to make her push him even farther away. She also told me not to worry and that she would make a profile on Facebook specifically for this purpose if that's what it took. But she was going to make sure that everyone in the family knew that it was not me who had created the situation, but it had been my father. That made me feel loads better, and she stayed true to her word and created an account on Facebook specifically so she could upload a video talking about what had happened, and everyone in the family saw that. After watching that, people started reaching out to me and telling me that they were definitely on my side here and were going to cut my father out of their lives because whatever was going on with him was not nice or acceptable. Having issues with me was one thing, but publicizing them and trying to make it seem like I was the bad guy here was another, and nobody in the family was going to stand for it. I'm pretty happy that I have a family like this who have a spine and are ready to take a stand for me when it is necessary. My dad had always been well liked by everyone, so I had actually initially been very skeptical if people would even be willing to believe my side of the story. But I'm glad that people are willing to stand by what's right. My family has had nothing to say about any of this, and a couple of hours ago, I started hearing from people that all of them had deactivated their accounts, probably because they thought that being active on any social media would make them answerable to their family. I don't care about any of it. I'm just happy that my side of the story is out and nobody can accuse me of being the villain anymore. Even if people want to do so even now, it's their problem and not mine. I have said whatever I had to say, and now I'm not willing to deal with this anymore because I have a wedding to plan, and I'm not going to waste my energy on petty stuff like this. Caleb and I have had a discussion about this, and in a couple of days we are going to take down all the posts that we had put up in relation to this because now that everything's out in the open, it's not important to us anymore. My aunt has also told me that she's going to delete the account that she has created in a couple of days because this really isn't that important, and all of us want the negativity out of our lives now. She told me that after this, even if my family tried to get back in touch with me, whether to fight or to apologize, I should just let it go and not speak to them, and it would be for the best. I couldn't agree more. Update 3. Hi guys, so I'm getting married in a couple of weeks, and I recently sent out the invitations to my wedding. Obviously, my parents and my sister did not receive one because after we had our falling out, they never bothered to reach out to me to try and make things right, and honestly, even if they had tried, I don't think I would have been open to it because they had tried to spread some nasty rumors about me and the family to make me look like the bad guy, and all that drama had happened. After that, pretty much everyone in the family had stopped speaking to my parents and Penelope, and they reactivated their accounts a couple of days after everything had died down and even tried to start the hate campaign against me, but nobody was falling for it anymore. Since then, things have mostly stayed quiet, and I'm very glad about it because I've been very busy planning my wedding. To be honest, I hadn't even been thinking about my family for the past couple of months, and it only occurred to me that I haven't spoken to them for so long because the invitations were sent out recently, and I realized that I hadn't sent any to my parents or Penelope, and it felt weird. But there's nothing that I can do. Over the past couple of months, my aunt and I have become a lot closer, and I decided to speak to her about how I was feeling, and she told me that it was perfectly normal for me to feel like I was missing out on something because I actually was. I was going to miss out on the experience of having my family beside me while I was getting married, and it was perfectly fine for me to feel bad about it. But the only thing that I needed to remember was that my family had not exactly treated me well, and that's why they were not going to be there at the wedding, and it was quite effective for me to think of that way. So I wouldn't say that I don't care that my family is not going to be there on my wedding day. I do care. But it's not like I can help this situation, so the only thing that I can do is just deal with it. Regardless of that, I'm still going to have a lot of people by my side who actually care about me, like Caleb and my aunt and other family members. So I know that no matter what, it's going to be a success. Now on to the next story. Story 6. Mal let my husband's ex see our son behind my back and calls her new mom. Now I'm getting blamed for breaking up our family because I can't forgive my Mal's innocent mistake. Hi everyone. My name is Chloe, 33F. And I've been married to my husband Sebastian, 34M, for the past 7 years. We've had a good relationship and a good marriage. But now it seems like everything is coming to an end. Let me tell you from the start. So, my husband has had this female best friend named Alicia, 34F. They were in high school and dated for a year. Then they realized that they were better as friends and continued to stay as friends. Now, Alicia was a typical pick-me girl that you can expect. I hated hanging out with her. Alicia was one of those girls who always had to be the center of attention, and she definitely enjoyed putting me down to make herself look better. I remember the first time I met her. She gave me this look up and down, like she was sizing me up. Then she made some comments about how she was so glad my husband had finally found someone and how she was glad that she didn't have to marry him anymore. It felt so weird, but I brushed it off, thinking maybe I was just being sensitive. But as time went on, it became pretty clear that she had it out for me. There was this one time we were all out for dinner, and she started talking about how she and my husband used to go on these adventures together. She went on and on about this camping trip they took where they got lost and had to rely on each other for survival. She made it sound like some epic romance, and I just sat there feeling like a third wheel. Then there was the time we were at a party, and Alicia decided to tell everyone about how my husband used to have this huge crush on her back in high school. She laughed about it, saying how he was always trying to impress her and how she thought it was cute. I could see my husband squirming in his seat, clearly uncomfortable, but Alicia just kept going. It was like she wanted to remind everyone, especially me, that she was his first love or something. The worst, though, was probably last Christmas. We were all at my in-laws' house, and Alicia had come over with this elaborate homemade pie. She kept going on about how she learned to make it from scratch and how it was my husband's favorite. When I mentioned that I had baked cookies for the occasion, she gave me this pitying look and said, "Oh, that's so sweet. I'm sure your cookies are delicious too." Now, I know it doesn't sound so mean, but the way she said it was so condescending, I could have screamed. To make matters worse, my husband didn't seem to see how awful she was. He insisted that she was just being friendly and that I was overreacting. He kept reminding me that they have a lot of history and that she meant no harm. But it felt like every time we were around her, she was trying to undermine me and make me feel small. I tried talking to my husband about it, but it always turned into a fight. He got defensive, saying that Alicia was just his friend and that I was being paranoid. It's like he couldn't see how toxic she is, and it made me feel like I'm the crazy one. I even considered trying to distance myself from her, but it was hard because she was such a big part of my husband's life. However, the problem was that Sebastian had known Alicia for a long time, and even his family was quite fond of her, so it was very difficult for me to share this with him. The one time I did, He told me that she was just a friend and that I was just being insecure. However, I started to notice how Sebastian's mom, Regina, 66F, acted towards Alicia and me. She always tried to embarrass and preferred Alicia over me. I will admit that I felt pretty bad because of this. For instance, Regina would always invite Alicia to family dinners without consulting me first. She'd call Alicia practically family, which felt like a slap in the face. At one of these dinners, Regina went on and on about how Alicia had such a natural talent for cooking while subtly implying that my cooking was just okay. She even asked Alicia for her recipe for a dish that I had made, as if Alicia's version would automatically be better. Another time, during a family gathering, Regina made a comment about how Sebastian was lucky to have two such beautiful and talented women in his life. But then she added, looking at Alicia, "Some people just have that natural charm and grace." It was clear who she was talking about, and it wasn't me. It felt like Regina was always finding ways to highlight Alicia's supposed superiority. Despite all of this, I love Sebastian a lot, and I tried my best to get over it. I even tried to hang out with Alicia more and get to know more about her, thinking maybe if we became friends, it would make things easier. There was one time we went shopping together, and I tried to make an effort to bond with her, but it ended with her making passive-aggressive comments about my fashion sense. She said things like, "Oh, that's cute. It's nice that you don't feel the need to follow trends," while she picked out the latest styles for herself. I realized that I didn't need to be friends with her just because she was friends with my husband. It became clear that trying to get closer to her was just making me miserable. Every interaction with her felt like a competition, one that I hadn't signed up for and didn't want to be a part of. I decided to distance myself from Alicia and focus on my own well-being. It wasn't easy, especially because of how intertwined she was with Sebastian's life and family, but I knew I had to do what was best for my mental health. I started finding excuses to avoid gatherings where Alicia would be present and made an effort to plan activities with Sebastian that didn't involve her. A few years ago, when I was pregnant with my son, Jamie, 7M, I was really looking forward to starting this new life with my new family. However, the day I went into labor, I couldn't reach Sebastian. I had to call my best friend, who took me to the hospital and was in the delivery room with me. Sebastian came to the hospital 5 hours after Jamie was delivered. When I asked him where he was, he told me Alicia's marriage had just ended, and he was consoling her. I was furious. I did feel bad about her marriage ending, but I needed him, and he had picked her over me and our baby. I told him that he could not see the baby until he broke everything off with Alicia and swore on Jamie that he would never see her again. He started arguing with me, saying that I was being hormonal and acting like a brat, and that Alicia was his best friend and he couldn't just cut her out of his life. I told him that he could then cut me and his son off. After a lot of arguing, he promised me that he would never see her again. I also made him promise me that I would never have to see her again and that if his parents wanted to see Alicia, they could see her but not mention it to me, also to never invite her to family events when I was coming. To be honest, I didn't feel entirely good about giving him that ultimatum, but I was at my breaking point. It wasn't just about that one incident but years of feeling second place to Alicia. I knew it was drastic, but I needed him to understand how serious I was about this. After Jamie was born, I thought things would get better, and for a while they did. Sebastian kept his promise, and Alicia was no longer a looming presence in our lives. Felt like a weight had been lifted. Regina wasn't too happy about it at first, but she eventually came around when she saw how happy Sebastian and I were. Family events became less stressful, and I started to feel more at ease. Despite this improvement, there were moments when the past would creep up. For instance, one evening Regina made a comment about how she missed Alicia's baking during Christmas. I had to remind myself to breathe and let it go. It was clear that Alicia still had a place in their hearts. And while it stung, I understood that years of friendship and family time don't just disappear. There was also the time when Sebastian's old friend group had a reunion. They wanted to invite Alicia, and Sebastian had to explain the situation to them. It was awkward, and I could see it pained him to exclude her, but he did it for our family. Another challenge was rebuilding trust. The incident during Jamie's birth had left a scar. There were times when I would wonder if he resented me for making him choose, and I had to work through those insecurities. Counseling helped us a lot during this period. We learned to communicate better, and Sebastian started to see things from my perspective. He realized how much his prioritizing Alicia had hurt me over the years. Everything was going well, and a few years passed after that. I honestly thought that this was all behind me and that I didn't have to worry about this ever. Since my son has grown up, now sometimes I ask my mother-in-law, Regina, to babysit, especially during the hours I work. It's only for a few hours every day at a time, and sometimes on weekends. However, ever since she started babysitting my son, I have noticed that Jamie's attitude towards me has changed completely. He is no longer the sweet son who loved to hug me whenever he saw me. Now he throws tantrums and seems so different. For example, Jamie used to be excited when I came home from work, running to give me a big hug. Now he barely acknowledges me and sometimes even refuses to talk to me. He used to love our bedtime stories, but now he insists that Grandma tells better stories and doesn't want me to read to him anymore. It's heartbreaking. I've also noticed that Jamie has started saying things that sound suspiciously like Regina's opinions. He'll say things like, "Grandma says you should spend more time with me," or "Grandma makes the best food, not you." It's like he's parroting what she says, and it makes me wonder what she's telling him when I'm not around. One time we were out shopping, and Jamie threw a massive fit because I wouldn't buy him a specific toy. He screamed, "Grandma would get it for me." It was so embarrassing and out of character for him. He never used to behave like that. When I tried to explain why he couldn't have it, he just kept saying that Regina always lets him have what he wants. Things came to a head a few weekends ago when Jamie refused to come home after spending the day with Regina. He said, "I want to stay with Grandma. She's nicer to me." I was devastated. I tried to talk to Regina about it, but she brushed it off, saying that Jamie was just being a typical kid and that I shouldn't worry. But it's hard not to. I've also noticed Jamie's behavior has changed in other subtle ways. He's become more defiant, often ignoring my requests or doing the exact opposite of what I ask. Simple things like asking him to clean up his toys or put on his shoes have become daily battles. It's like he's testing me constantly, and it's exhausting. Another thing that has really bothered me is that Jamie has started making comparisons between me and Regina. He'll say things like, "Grandma's house is more fun," or "Grandma lets me watch whatever I want." It feels like he's being pitted against me, and I don't know how to handle it. I've tried to talk to Sebastian about it, but he just thinks I'm overreacting again. I tried to spend more one-on-one time with Jamie to rebuild our bond. We went to the park, baked cookies, and even had movie nights with his favorite films. But no matter what I did, it felt like Regina's influence was overshadowing my efforts. It had gotten to the point where I dreaded leaving him with her, but I didn't have many other options for childcare at that time. I didn't think much of it and thought that this was just part of growing up. But about a week ago, he told me that he misses his new mommy. I was surprised and asked him who his new mom was, but he didn't say anything and ran back to his room. I was worried about his reaction, so I did something that I am not proud of. I read his diary. And in that, I found that the new mom he had been talking about was Alicia. He had written in his diary that Alicia is so nice. She gives me candies. But Dad says we can't tell Mommy or she will not let us see Alicia. I was heartbroken, not only because my son was calling someone else the new mommy, or that my mother-in-law had let my son see Alicia and broke my boundaries, but that they had made my son lie to me. There were several other pages where he had talked about Alicia. He wrote about how she took him to the park, bought him toys, and even taught him how to ride a bike. These were all things I wanted to experience with him, and it felt like they were being stolen from me. I confronted Sebastian about it that night. He was defensive at first, saying that Jamie must have misunderstood things and that he never meant to go behind my back. But the diary entries were clear, and there was no denying that he had crossed a line. He admitted that he had taken Jamie to see Alicia a few times, thinking it wouldn't hurt since Jamie seemed to like her. He didn't understand how much it hurt me to be kept in the dark and undermined. I felt betrayed, not just by Sebastian but by Regina as well. She had clearly been facilitating these visits, knowing full well that I wouldn't approve. It was like she didn't respect my role as Jamie's mother or my right to set boundaries for our family. I called her out on it, and she just shrugged it off, saying that she was just trying to keep everyone happy. Jamie's diary entries also revealed that Regina had been telling him that Alicia was like a second mom to him. No wonder he was so confused and acting out. He didn't know who to listen to or how to reconcile the conflicting messages he was getting from the adults in his life. It was heartbreaking to think about the confusion and stress he must have been feeling. I was angry. I waited for Sebastian to come home, and when he did, I asked him about this. He tried to deny it, but the proof was right there, so he couldn't. He said that Alicia just accidentally visited the house when he and Jamie were there, and Mom just innocently told Jamie that Alicia was his new mommy and it stuck. He claimed that he had only met Alicia once, but then I showed Jamie's diary to him, and his lies unraveled. He said, "So what if Alicia met him? This was all a mistake," he insisted. But I told him that this wasn't a mistake. I set a boundary and he broke it. I told him to get out of the house. He left and stayed with his parents for the night. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing with all the emotions and thoughts. How could he do this? How could he put Jamie in such a confusing situation? I felt like my trust had been shattered, and I didn't know how we could move forward from this. I kept rereading Jamie's diary entries, each one breaking my heart a little more. The next morning, Regina called me. She was upset that I had kicked Sebastian out and said I was overreacting. She kept defending Alicia, saying that she was just trying to be nice to Jamie and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. I told her that she had no right to go behind my back and that she had completely disregarded my feelings and boundaries. She tried to argue, but I hung up on her. I was done with her meddling. He came home the next day and tried to talk to me, but I told him that I was done with him and that I wanted to leave him. He said that he couldn't believe I would say that over such a small thing. I told him it was not a small thing. The day our son was born, he picked Alicia over me, and now he has done it again. I am not going to stand for this. I told him that he should take his stuff and move out and that we would contact the lawyers and figure out the custody and everything else. He started crying and begging me not to do this. He kept saying how much he loved me and Jamie, how he never meant to hurt us, and that he couldn't imagine his life without us. But I was really done. I felt a mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, and deep sadness. I had given him so many chances to prove that he could prioritize our family, but he kept letting me down. It wasn't just about Alicia. It was about the pattern of disrespect and dishonesty. Every time he chose her over me, it felt like a knife to my heart. The day Jamie was born was supposed to be one of the happiest days of our lives, but instead, it was marred by his absence and the realization that he would always put Alicia first. Sebastian kept insisting that he didn't mean to hurt me, that he was just trying to be a good friend to Alicia, but that wasn't the point. The point was that he consistently disregarded my feelings and the boundaries we had set together. His actions showed me that he didn't respect me or our marriage. As he sat there crying, I felt a strange sense of calm. I knew this was the right decision for me and for Jamie. We couldn't keep living in this toxic cycle. Jamie deserved to grow up in a home where his parents respected and valued each other, not one where there was constant tension and deceit. I started packing his things while he watched, still pleading with me to reconsider. He said he would cut Alicia off completely, that he would do anything to make things right. But I couldn't believe him anymore. His promises meant nothing when his actions repeatedly betrayed me. I told him that I needed space and time to heal, and that meant he had to leave. As I packed, memories of our relationship flooded my mind. The good times, the laughter, the dreams we had shared. It was hard to let go, but I knew it was necessary. I couldn't keep sacrificing my happiness and self-respect for someone who didn't value them. Sebastian finally left, taking only a suitcase of his essentials. I told him I would arrange a time for him to come back and get the rest of his things when Jamie wasn't around. I wanted to shield our son from as much of this pain as possible. The house felt eerily quiet after he left. I sat down and took a deep breath, trying to process everything. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I felt a sense of relief knowing I had made a decision that was best for me and Jamie. I called my best friend and told her what had happened. She was supportive, reminding me that I deserved to be with someone who truly valued and respected me. A few hours later, I started getting calls from everyone. Regina also called me and told me that I was making a big mistake. But I told her that this had nothing to do with her and that she should stay out of it and that she is to blame for this as well, and I hung up on her. As I sat there, I couldn't help but replay the events in my head. I knew deep down that I needed to stand my ground, but the doubt crept in. What if I was overreacting? What if I was breaking up our family over something that could be fixed? This was making me question myself even more. Regina had always been a strong presence in Sebastian's life, and I wondered if I was wrong to push her away too. My phone buzzed with texts and voicemails from Sebastian, his parents, and even a few of our mutual friends. Most of them were urging me to reconsider, saying things like, "He made a mistake, give him another chance," or "Think about Jamie, he needs both of his parents." It was overwhelming, and I felt like I was being pulled in a million different directions. One message stood out, though. It was from my best friend. She reminded me of all the times I had confided in her about feeling second to Alicia, about how lonely and hurt I felt when Sebastian would dismiss my feelings. She said, "You need to do what's best for you and Jamie. Don't let anyone guilt you into staying in a situation that's damaging to your well-being." But as I am sitting alone in this house, I can't help but feel confused. Am I making a mistake doing this? Am I taking this too far? What do you guys think? I would love to know. Update 1. Hi everyone. I know it's only been a day since I made the post, but I have a few updates. Things have become so much clearer now. So, I had packed essentials for Sebastian, but his iPad was left behind. Normally, I wouldn't have snooped, but I wasn't the same person I was a few days ago, so I opened his messenger apps and checked his chats. And surprise, I found texts between him and Alicia, and guess this? The texts went back years. As it turns out, he never stopped talking to her. I spent all night going through these texts. I found messages that dated back to shortly after Jamie was born. The messages were heart-wrenching and eye-opening. Sebastian would tell Alicia how much he missed her and that he wished things could be different. He even expressed regret about not being able to openly see her, saying things like, "I hate that I have to keep you a secret from Chloe." In one conversation, Sebastian mentioned, "Sometimes I think about how easy things would be if we were together. I know it's complicated, but I can't help but wish it." It was devastating to read how he had been holding on to feelings for Alicia all while pretending to be committed to our family. The texts also revealed how frequently they talked. They had long chats about their lives, their struggles, and their dreams. Alicia would often send Sebastian updates about her life, including personal details and complaints about her own romantic relationships. Sebastian would respond with supportive messages, sometimes even giving her relationship advice. It was clear that their bond went way beyond just friendship. One message from Alicia was particularly painful. She said, "I know we can't be together, but I really cherish what we have. It's been hard without you." To which Sebastian responded, "I feel the same way. I wish things were different. I hate that I can't be more open about how I feel." It felt like a punch to the gut to see how he had been emotionally invested in her while our marriage was falling apart. There were also messages where Sebastian would complain about me, venting to Alicia about how difficult things were at home and how he felt trapped. It was a painful realization that he had been sharing intimate details about our marriage with someone else. Reading those messages made me feel incredibly betrayed. It was like he had been living a double life, sharing his frustrations with Alicia instead of working through them with me. I spent hours crying and trying to process everything I had found. The betrayal cut so deep, and it was hard to believe that someone I trusted so completely could be so dishonest. I felt like all the pain and confusion I had been feeling over the past few years suddenly made sense. The consistent pattern of neglect and dishonesty was finally laid bare. There is no more confusion in my head. I now know that I need to leave this man. He doesn't value me, and he doesn't respect me or my wishes. Update 2. Hi everyone. I know it's been a month, but I've been figuring out a lot of things. I didn't confront Sebastian about the messages I had found right away. In the meantime, I hired movers to take his stuff to his mother's house where he had been staying. The day they arrived, I got a call from Sebastian, but I didn't pick up. A few hours later, he showed up at my door, crying and asking me how I could do this and that he deserved a second chance. This was my moment, so I took a deep breath and decided to lay it all out. I told him about everything I had found on his iPad, how he had never stopped talking to Alicia and how his secret conversations with her revealed his true feelings. I described the messages where he talked about missing her, regretting that he had to keep her a secret, and feeling trapped in our marriage. I made sure he knew I had read it all and that I wasn't going to be manipulated by his pleas. I told him, "You've been living a double life, and now you can be with Alicia. You've always wanted this, and now you're free to pursue it without hiding your true feelings." His face went pale and he started begging and pleading. He said things like, "I didn't mean for things to go this far," and "I'm so sorry, please don't do this." He even tried to guilt-trip me, saying, "Think about Jamie, you're breaking up our family." Seeing him like that, crying and desperate, was a mix of pain and oddly satisfying. I felt like I had finally taken control of the situation and stood up for myself. I reminded myself of all the times he had let me down and all the broken promises. I told him I needed him to leave and shut the door in his face. It was a harsh decision, but it felt like the right thing to do. I won't lie, it felt good seeing him cry like that. It was like a form of justice for all the times he had made me feel worthless. The next day, I started the process of formalizing the separation. I contacted a lawyer to discuss the legalities of the divorce and custody arrangements. I wanted to make sure everything was handled properly so that there wouldn't be any issues down the line. I was determined to get everything sorted out as smoothly as possible. Sebastian continued to call and text, trying to apologize and convince me to reconsider. He sent messages like, "I'm willing to do anything to make this right, and please let's talk about this one more time." I didn't respond. I needed space and time to heal, and I wasn't ready to have any more conversations with him. I felt that every time I engaged with him, it was a step backward, and I really need to move forward. So I told him to never text me or call me again and contact my lawyer if he wants to say anything. After that, I blocked him. Update 3. Hey everyone. Let me start by saying thank you for all your support and help during this tough time. Your advice and kind words have really helped me navigate through this mess. I'm still in the process of getting divorced, but Sebastian has finally given up on trying to win me back. It's been a long and difficult journey, but it feels like we're moving towards a resolution. Things with Jamie have been challenging. He's still trying to understand what's going on. He's been asking questions like, "Why isn't Daddy coming home?" And "When can we see Daddy again?" It breaks my heart to see him confused and upset. I've been doing my best to explain things to him in a way that's appropriate for his age. I tell him that sometimes grown-ups need to live in different places, but that doesn't change how much we love him. Hopefully, things will get better with time. Thank you again for all your support and advice. It's been a huge comfort to know that I'm not alone in this. If anyone has gone through a similar experience, I'd love to hear how you manage the transition for your kids and yourself. Now on to the next story. Story 7. My wife hid that she's asexual. I asked for a divorce. She refused and even tried to open the relationship by offering her best friend to me. My wife, 29F, and I, 34M, have been married for 4 years, and up until a year and a half ago, things were fantastic. Our marriage began to deteriorate after there was a significant drop in sex between us. Not intimacy, just the actual sex part of the relationship. We would still cuddle and have deep, intimate moments, talking and just being around each other. But she kept rejecting my attempts at taking things further past kissing. Now, we have had no problem communicating, so I made sure to address it early. We talked and made adjustments. We both made sure to stay in shape. We tried being more adventurous. We went to couples therapy and counseling and even tested both of our hormone levels. Everything was normal. Each solution would work for a little while, and then we'd be back to having sex maybe once a month. I asked her several times if she was no longer attracted to me, to which she denied every time. I asked her if I was falling short in the relationship in any other way, to which she said no. Well, about a month ago, she got back from her therapy session and told me that she believes that she's asexual, and that's the reason for her libido being non-existent as of late. I was definitely confused because we had such great sex for a while in the beginning of our relationship, but her telling me that she's now asexual was heartbreaking because everything else is great. Obviously, I'm not going to force her to have sex. So, we had a long conversation about our relationship and I came to the conclusion that we should get a divorce. I say because she immediately rejected the idea and said we would figure something out and wouldn't talk to me about it anymore. I didn't know what to say, so I dropped it. Well, 3 weeks go by without sex and I decided that I have to do this for my own mental well-being. So I filed for divorce and had her served with the papers last week. When I got home from work, she was going about the day like nothing was wrong. I asked her if she signed the papers, and she flat out said, "We are not getting a divorce," and changed the subject and acted like things were normal. Obviously, I thought this was crazy, so I stopped her and said I couldn't be in a marriage devoid of sex. I mentioned that I was being incredibly fair with our divorce. She can keep the house that we bought and paid for with cash. She paid 1/3, I paid 2/3. I take all of the debt, which isn't much. We'd split our savings and investments in half, and she can keep 2 of our 3 paid-off cars. I only wanted to keep my sports car. Thankfully, we don't have kids. I love her and want her to be comfortable, and I have no problem starting over since I make a good income, but she won't budge or talk about the divorce. This brings us to 2 days ago. I get home and go to our bedroom and find my wife's friend, 27F, in our bed naked. I immediately shut the door, said sorry, and went looking for my wife. I found her in the kitchen and asked what her friend was doing here, and she said that she was here for me. I put 2 and 2 together and said that I'm not having sex with other women in place of the woman I chose to marry. She was adamant on saying that I could sleep with her whenever I wanted and that her friend agreed to it. I couldn't believe things would get this far, so I went back to our bedroom and asked her friend to leave. I packed a bag and I've been staying in a hotel nearby since that night. My wife, her mother, and her sister keep calling me, but I'm just not interested in hearing what they have to say. This feels like a trick. I just want this whole thing to be over. Does anyone have advice? Is this some kind of ploy for alimony? We do have a prenup. Should I just contact my lawyer and try to force the divorce? I'm really uncomfortable with this entire situation. Edit, we talked last night. I'll update when I get home from work. Edit 2. Here's the update if anyone's interested. I'll try to keep this as concise as possible. I feel overwhelmed, so I probably won't bother with another update after this one. My wife came to my hotel last night and we talked about everything. She told me the full truth and what's going on in her mind. A few of you commented on this in the last post, so you were right. She has always been asexual. She and her whole family have known this since she was 16. Apparently, this is the reason why her last long-term relationship of 3 years ended. He broke up with her after the sex between them diminished to being non-existent after the first year. She told me that sex is easier for her in the beginning when emotions are running high, but she still needs to force herself to have it. I knew they broke up due to unresolvable differences, but I didn't ask for details, nor did she tell me. After a lot of apologies and crying, she told me that I was the first person she was able to tolerate sex with for so long, and that she did enjoy it a handful of times, but after a while she still felt like she was being raped. I broke down after hearing this and started kicking myself for not catching on to any of this. She said she tried her best to please me as much as she could. She still doesn't want a divorce and she doesn't want the house, cars, or the savings. She just wants me and is ready to do whatever it takes to keep me. She even said that she would sign a postnup stating this. As for her friend, she was there during her last breakup and helped to support her through it. My wife went to her after I brought up divorce and talked things out. Her friend suggested that she open the relationship for me, but she said she didn't want me sleeping with strange women, so her friend volunteered herself to be the one that sleeps with me. My wife thought this was a great idea, which led to the fiasco at our house. I won't comment on her appearance because it doesn't matter and I don't blame the friend. My lawyer got back to me. You were all right. I don't need her permission, but I will have to wait if I want to push it through. I asked her why she lied to me this entire time, and she said she was tired of being rejected after revealing she was asexual. So, she convinced herself that she would be able to force herself to have sex during the relationship. The hormone tests, the sessions in couples therapy, and all of our solutions were just her buying time to find another way around sex or give herself enough time to build up the strength to start regularly having sex with me again. Our conversation ended with us holding each other in bed, crying for a couple of hours. No, we didn't have sex. She pleaded with me to hold off on the divorce to look for a solution together and left my hotel room. I'm now sitting alone typing this post. I guess I found out that we don't share everything with each other. Thank you to everyone who has messaged me directly. I'm still trying to get to all of them. I don't know what I'm going to do. Comments. Comment 1. You did right, bro. Let your attorney handle this. Do not have sex with anyone until your attorney says you're in the clear. OP. That's my only course of action right now. I'm going to look for an apartment tomorrow. Comment 2. Also, why are you offering her so much? Split the marital property equitably and move on. If you even have the slightest inclination that she's trying to set you up, then don't just roll over and let her have everything, because that won't be enough for her and her attorney. OP. She has been wonderful to me otherwise. I don't feel like she should be punished for finding out who she is. I want her to be comfortable because she doesn't make nearly as much as I do. I can bounce back with no issue. She'll still have to work to provide for herself unless she marries another high earner or becomes one herself. A fresh start doesn't scare me at all. Comment 3. This OP. I don't see any reason that the judge wouldn't just divide the assets and liabilities 50-50. I understand wanting to offer her more to get her to sign, but if she's not willing to do that and you have to go to court about it, you're going to want to tighten up so you have some leverage. Comment 4. That's nice of you, but she's being manipulative and sketchy as hell with this latest stunt. You being so nice about it is fair enough. Comment 5. I don't know if she's being maliciously manipulative. Most likely, she's terrified of him leaving her and is in denial or doing everything possible to get him to stay, or both. He says everything is perfect except for the lack of sex. So, she sees this as they can stay together if she provides him someone to have sex with that isn't her. It's not a black and white situation, and while I agree the wife's actions are not appropriate, I think she's acting out of fear and love. Again, that doesn't make it okay. Just that we don't have enough information to say that she 100% is trying to trap him in anything. Update 1. 2 weeks later. I don't think I can link my previous post, so just go to my profile, I guess, if you care to read the OP. I've tried to read every comment, message, and take to heart what most of you had to say. Also, please stop messaging me. I can't respond to everyone. It's too much. I'll make this as short as possible. After my last update, my wife asked me to meet with her about a week later to discuss things with her. I've been staying at an extended stay since that night with her friend. We met at our house and talked for a few hours. She started off with a ton of apologies for how she acted, her lying about her sexuality, and not taking my sexual needs more seriously. Before I could say anything, she presented a signed post-nup agreement she had drafted with a lawyer stating that she doesn't want anything. The house, the cars, savings, everything. I felt like the biggest a-hole for thinking that she was tricking me for more money. I asked her if she was serious, and she told me to take the post-nup with me and sign it when I'm ready. I still haven't signed it. It's in my backpack. I told her that I still think divorce is our best course of action, and that we both deserve to find someone who matches our needs. She still refused and borderline begged me to reconsider. She started crying, and so did I. Seeing her like this was devastating. I told her that finding other women to sleep with me wasn't going to work. What if I develop feelings for them? What if I get one of them pregnant? Do we expect her to get an abortion? She said, we'll figure it out as we go along, and to please give her more time to work on other solutions. She set up appointments for sex and hormone therapy and is seeing a sex guru. I said that it sounds like we're going through the same things again, but she was adamant and pleaded with me to wait. There were more apologies on both sides, and we kissed for a while before ending the conversation. Then I went back to my hotel that night. A few days later, I tried texting her, but she didn't respond, so I called her dad. I'm avoiding her mother and sister since they are saying the same things as my wife. Her dad told me that she moved back home and has been holed up in her room since our talk. She called out of work. He told me that she's barely eating, bathing, or talking to him or her mom. He asked me what I was going to do, but I didn't have an answer for him. He just said he understands and said he would be here to talk anytime I wanted to. So I went back to our house and a good portion of her stuff was gone. The whole place feels empty. I've been sleeping in one of the spare rooms. I'm planning on flying to my mother's house in a couple weeks to spend time with my family to decompress from this entire situation. I'm still on the divorce side of the fence, but I guess there's no rush. Thank you to everyone for your insight and concern. Seriously, I know we're all strangers, but most of you have been a huge help to my mental health. Seriously, thank you. Also, my cousin uses Reddit and reached out after he found my last post and asked me to shout him out if I made an update. Love you, Virgil. Thank you for being there for me. I think I'll just make a quick edit to this post once we reach a resolution for anyone that cares. Comments. Comment 1. It's a tough situation, but if having an intimate physical relationship with your wife is important, I think you know what needs to be done. Sucks for everyone involved. Godspeed. Comment 2. Sex in a relationship is like the toilet in your house. It's not the first thing you mention when talking about it, but if it's not working, then it's immediately noticed. Update 10 months later. Hey everyone, in hindsight, I regret making these posts because I think I received too many pieces of advice. I keep thinking I should have just handled it internally with just family. I don't regret my decisions. I just wish I gave myself more time to think. Anyway, here's the update. I'll keep it short. The divorce was finalized months ago. Our house was sold along with one of the cars, and my ex-wife is still living with her parents. I had a little more than 2/3 of the proceeds wired to her account, but the last time I talked to her dad, she hadn't touched a dime. I was informed that she checked into a mental health clinic, but I don't know how long she was there or what her current state is. I changed my number, but her dad has emailed me a few times to check on me throughout this last year, which breaks my heart because he's a great man. Him playing both sides of the fence like this really made everything go a lot smoother. Other than not warning me, which I honestly don't think it was his place to, he's been a huge help. I moved back to my home state to be closer to my family. I may leave to go to another state again, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I feel numb from this whole thing. Not much of a drinker, so I've been smoking a ton of pot and working out to occupy my mind. To everyone who didn't get a response from me in my messages, I'm sorry, but there were just too many. I responded to as many as I could mentally handle. I think that's it. I can't imagine that there would be any additional questions, but I'll answer whatever I can. Comments. Comment 1. Wow, hope you both find some type of lasting happiness. You move on, your ex is hopefully finding some peace. Comment 2. I'm not so sympathetic to his ex-wife. She lied to him for years, misled him, and drew this out and took years of his life away trying to live her version of happiness at his expense. It's unfortunate she's taking it so hard, but what she did to him was cruel and selfish. Comment 3. Do you love her at all? I feel like men are all thinking with dicks. Like, is there no love if there's no sex? Like, how is being asexual worth a surprise divorce with no discussion? And how you are supported by people on Reddit is just a joke. Love does not equal to sex, and if you're willing to dump the woman you made vows to based on sex, then you don't understand love at all. You won't find love ever, and anything you find going forward is not going to be more than lust. We tried to fix things for over a year. I understand where you're coming from, but I guess my question to you is, what can you live with and without in a relationship? Money, attraction, respect, intimacy, non-sexual security? Which one of these are you comfortable with losing in your relationships? Now on to the next story. Story 8. My husband died, but I have to pretend he was a good man. Overcoming a huge risk to reclaim freedom and start a new life for myself and my children. Original post. My husband passed away 3 months ago. I was relieved. He abused me financially, mentally, and even physically. When I got pregnant, he convinced me to quit my job, saying that he would take care of me. I could never buy anything again without asking his permission. I couldn't even buy a cream without asking his permission, and he decided if I could or not. Even 8 months ago, when I had a little money of my own, I had to ask him for permission to buy something. What was mine was his, and his was his. But I stayed there because I still loved him, and I didn't have a place to go. I had too low self-esteem and let myself be stepped on. When I stopped loving him, he had already had his first affair. He made me believe that I was to blame for the affair because I didn't want to have sex months after my birth that left me torn, and I had to receive stitches. I was already planning my exit and saving money little by little while I was working selling things from home, since he wouldn't let me work outside because he was very jealous. I wanted to pay for a lawyer. He was having another affair with a friend of his, which luckily kept him busier, and I didn't care anymore that he didn't pay attention to me. I wanted him to stay as far away as possible. I knew that man, and he knew me. I could have made a big fuss, but I didn't. I kept quiet, planning my way out while he and that man slept together in secret. I only felt disgusted by my husband, nothing more. But my husband died in a way I never would have expected. He is now a martyr. When someone dies, all the sins of that person disappear because that's what even my family thinks. Those who knew about his affair and how he manipulated me are now talking about how good a man he was, and we shouldn't insult someone who's dead. Everyone around me talks about how beautiful our relationship was. His family talks about what a great man he was and how he always focused on giving everything to me and our kid. His affair partner hugged me at the funeral, saying that my husband loved me. His friends told me what a great person he was. Everyone talks about how good he was and how he is now an angel in heaven, and I have to pretend to be sad. The day he died, I cried a lot, but not out of sadness. I cried with relief, and I felt free. It would have taken me too many years to save to pay for lawyers with my little store without him realizing that I was keeping money in secret. He would have kept everything. He would have made my life a hell, and I know it because he had told me so every time I stood for myself. But now I have the house, I have everything. I have the monthly money for being a widow. I have my children totally with me. I have started to become a psychologist. Everyone thinks that I do it to cope with my grief, but no, it is to overcome the abuse I suffered from him. It was really hard to pretend to be sad at the funeral, but I did it for my child. I did it because now everything is over, and I'm free. If I made a fuss, my ex-in-laws would have done something so that I wouldn't keep anything. They were just like him. But now I'm just a sad widow who needs help in their eyes. The silly widow who didn't know anything. But that's helping me to be free and have what I deserve. Sorry for the bad English, I used the translator for many parts. Edit. We are not from an Islamic country, and here same-sex couples can live and marry freely. He just cheated on me with a man like he cheated on me with a woman. I guess he was bisexual. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I am stuck on his affair partner hugging you and telling you he loved you. She had the balls to show at the funeral. Damn, you have more control than I could have ever mustered. Cheers to a life full of fun and love. OP. His affair partner was his football teammate and friend. He is a man. Thanks. Comment 2. Thinks your husband had an affair with a man or another woman. You have a child or children. OP. His first affair was with a woman, I think the second with a man of which I know. Maybe he had others that I don't know. For privacy reasons, I don't want to reveal the number of children, so I prefer to leave it at that. Update 1. It's been several weeks since I last posted, and I didn't expect my post to end in other places. Honestly, I had totally forgotten that I posted here. But a few days ago, the lover and friend of my ex-husband, I have started calling my deceased husband that way. I don't want to be eternally tied to the idea that he is still my husband even after death. Death did me the favor of separating us. Visited my house saying that he found my post. I didn't expect him to find this, and it scared me a bit. But honestly, there's nothing I can do about this anymore if someone has posted it elsewhere without asking me first. One of my sons let him in when I hadn't heard the doorbell, so I had no choice but to let him in to not make a drama in front of my kids, and I wanted to know what he was going to say. Once alone, he told me that he knows that I know about him and my husband having an affair because of the post I sent to TikTok, although I never did any post on TikTok, that's why I think someone uploaded this there. He told me that my husband was not the best husband, but he was a great friend to everyone and a very hard-working man. To everyone that even his family misses him too much, and even though he had his mistakes in the past, that I should let go of the past and stop digging into it because we're all better off like that. He was insisting for a while to an extent that I felt intimidated by him, to the point he reminded me of my husband, and it is the first time that I have that feeling with a man that is not my ex-husband. I can talk peacefully with them, but this situation made me feel on the verge of a panic attack because of his attitude. He's basically scared that I'll tell everything. He's gay, and I don't know if he has a boyfriend, but maybe he does, and that's why he doesn't want me to say anything about their affair. I've been a submissive woman for years. My ex-husband turned me into a fearful woman that I wasn't before. He made me the kind of woman who was always going to put her head down. But when he died, I felt so happy and liberated. I cried with relief for days. And when this man came into my house to tell me what to do, it was like seeing my ex-husband again, giving me instructions about how to behave and what to do. The man who knows very well that I was in an abusive relationship because he knew how my ex was and chose to sleep with him anyways, the man my husband made me cook for, and then him as if I were just a maid, was at my house telling me that my ex was a good person and that I should shut my mouth. He was telling me what to do, and I just punched his face. To be honest, I wanted to slap him, but for some reason, I felt so angry that I hit him, and it felt like hitting my husband too. I don't regret it, and I felt good. I yelled at him and told him to leave, or I was going to tell everyone what happened. He ended up leaving the house, and he has been quiet since that day. My main plan was just to shut my mouth and let go of the past. But that is one thing, and a totally different thing is that this man comes and wants to impose on me what to do as if I were a doll. Maybe my reaction wasn't the best, but I'm tired of people telling me to shut up. I never managed to say anything to my husband, and that day I felt that I somehow did that. I haven't told anyone yet, nor do I think about doing so, but if he does something, I won't hesitate twice before this time, whether to make a TikTok or post on Facebook talking about everything. With the issue of the house, with the economic crisis, I am not sure that anyone can afford what a house like this is worth, but for now, I have focused on finally being able to get a better job in the future to be able to rent a house and be able to rent this house. That could be a really good way to have money. My other goal in the future is to buy a small piece of land, no matter how far it is. I want to have something that is my own and my children's. My children don't miss their father too much, and I understand them. It has taken me a while to get them a child psychologist, but recently they started to go to their sessions, and they are doing well. I also go to a psychologist. I think the best thing I've done is to start making excuses for my ex-in-laws and my own family for not seeing them as often as before, and I've started the stage of cutting off contact little by little, making excuses with work or that we're not at home, although I still have to let my ex-in-laws come home from time to time. I think even my kids are happier when they see that my own mood is better. I doubt that many people are interested in this, but thank you for the messages I received, although many do not understand that cultures and laws are different, and buying a house or moving to the other side of a country in a month is impossible for many. Relevant comments. Comment. The audacity. He thinks you are still the maid. Good for you for showing your strength and sending him on his way. The nerve. I would strongly advise you to coach your children to not allow anyone in that house, not just for AP if he returns. This includes the family you plan to distance yourself from. OP, yes, they know that they should not open the door to strangers, but they open the door to people they know because my ex-husband always sent them to open the door for him. I have begun to explain to them that they should not open the door to anyone without telling me first, and now I leave everything with a lock and key. Now on to the next story. Story 9. My girlfriend was assaulted and became pregnant. I broke up with her because she wanted to keep the baby. This sounds really horrible, but please hear me out. Me, 30-year-old male, in a really difficult situation. 2 months ago, my girlfriend was attacked. It happened in a park. She didn't want to report it and went into a full breakdown. She wouldn't speak to the police or go to the hospital. I couldn't force her, so I just stayed with her. She was in a really bad state, and I've been by her side, listening to her, helping her. We've been to therapy, and she knows I'm there for her. She has a history of depression, and I've been really worried. She was obviously in a really bad state since she would barely eat or sleep, and she'd often wake up in the middle of the night crying or screaming. I've been with her by her side, listening to her, helping her with whatever she needed. Sometimes she'd just stare at the walls for hours, lost in her thoughts. We went to therapy together, trying to find some way to navigate through the mess. I wanted her to know I'm there for her no matter what. She's got a history of depression, and seeing her like this has had me really worried. I try to be strong for her, but there are moments when I feel completely powerless. Last week, we found out she was pregnant. The moment we saw the test results, it was like the world stopped. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and helplessness all at once. I was abroad for 2 months before the attack on work, and I came back early to care for her, so the baby definitely isn't mine. She is 100% sure it's the attackers. We had hoped it was just a false alarm, but the tests don't lie. The realization hit her hard, and she broke down again. The fact that this pregnancy is a constant reminder of that horrific night is tearing her apart. She feels trapped, and I don't know how to help her escape this nightmare. So we had a discussion. It was one of the hardest conversations we've ever had. She's a devout Catholic, and her faith means everything to her. Initially, we decided on an abortion. It seemed like the only way for her to start healing and move forward. But after she spoke to her mother, everything changed. Her mother told her that under no circumstances should she abort, saying it would be a grave sin. After that talk, she decided to keep the baby, saying that it isn't the baby's fault. She believes that every life is sacred, no matter the circumstances. I could see the turmoil in her eyes, torn between her faith and the trauma she's been through. It was like watching her heart break all over again. I flat out told her that I would not help raise a baby of a guy who attacked her. The words felt harsh, but I needed her to understand my stance. She cried and begged me not to leave her. Her tears were heartbreaking, and I hated seeing her in so much pain, but I couldn't back down. I told her that she is the one making the choice. Either she keeps the baby and I leave, or she aborts the baby and I stay. I would not let this go. I couldn't see myself raising a child that would be a constant reminder of the worst thing that ever happened to her. It felt like an impossible situation, but I needed her to understand that I couldn't compromise on this. The decision was hers, but I had to be honest about what I could and couldn't handle. She didn't want either of those things to happen, so I told her we were done. Was I wrong? Update 1. I'll post the update first since there has been some change since I last posted. Then I'll respond to some general points made from the last thread and the ton of PMs I received yesterday. Yesterday, I received a call from my girlfriend. She was crying, and she begged me to listen to her. I told her that I still care for her and that I'll obviously listen to what she has to say. She told me that a few days after I told her we were done, she called up her mother to talk about this. She needed someone to confide in, and she thought her mother would understand. Apparently, what happened before was that she pretty much decided on aborting. She felt it was the best way to start healing and move forward. But then when she spoke to her mother, everything changed. Her mother told her that under no circumstances should she abort, saying it would be a grave sin and that she would regret it for the rest of her life. She even said that I was actually manipulating her to have the abortion, making it seem like I was the villain in all of this. Her mother went on to say that if she aborted the child, she would no longer consider my girlfriend as her daughter. Those words cut deep. She felt trapped, torn between her mother's harsh judgment and her own trauma. The weight of her mother's disapproval was too much for her to bear, leaving her feeling isolated and overwhelmed. After I left her, my girlfriend called her mom up to talk about what went on. She needed to make sense of everything and hoped her mother would offer some comfort. My girlfriend said that she desperately wanted to abort the baby, explaining how the pregnancy was a constant reminder of the attack. But her mother was relentless. She again said that if she went through with the abortion, this would be the last time they would ever speak. She made it clear that the decision would sever their relationship forever. My girlfriend broke down on the phone, sobbing uncontrollably, feeling more alone than ever. Her mother kept pressing her, asking over and over what she would do. It was like she was being forced to choose between her own sanity and her family. The conversation ended when my girlfriend, choking on her tears, said she didn't know what to do. The weight of that ultimatum left her feeling completely devastated, lost. Then she started texting. Her hands were trembling as she typed, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Finally, she sent her mom a text saying she was going to abort. She hoped that maybe, just maybe, her mom would understand and offer some kind of support or at least a compassionate response. Instead, the reply was swift and brutal. She was blocked immediately, cut off without another word. The person she had always turned to in times of need had shut her out completely. My girlfriend then called me and told me everything. She will be having an abortion in 3 weeks. I discussed this with my girlfriend, and we both completely agreed that I had not manipulated her in any way. We talked about everything that had happened, from the attack to the pressures from her mother. She appreciated that I put my foot down, recognizing that my stance had helped her see things more clearly. She admitted that if I hadn't been firm about my boundaries, she might have ended up having a baby who would remind her of the worst time of her life. Those were her words, not mine. She expressed relief that I had been there to support her through this agonizing decision, acknowledging that it was the right choice for both of us, despite how difficult it had been. She further went on to say that I am the best thing that has ever happened to her, and that she knew that even if she no longer had a mom, if she had me, she could get through this. I broke down at this point. I love her so much. Seeing her in so much pain has been unbearable. In truth, I probably would have gone back to her and raised the baby with her, even though I knew I'd resent it deep down. I couldn't stand the thought of losing her. I made the original thread to get some backing rather than anything, to see if I had made the right decision. I needed to hear from others to find some validation and reassurance that I wasn't a monster for making such an ultimatum. The outpouring of support and perspectives from others helped me realize that standing my ground was necessary for both of us. It was a way to protect our future and help her move forward from the trauma. I'm so relieved things have turned out the way they have. Also, screw any mother who places religion over their own child. Freaking lunatics. Now to respond to some of your points from the last thread. No, my girlfriend did not cheat on me. I am almost certain about this, not only because she had the conscience of a fragile angel, but also because we both know each other's schedules really well, and we often talk to friends who can corroborate timings. Moreover, her roommate took photos of my girlfriend after she came home assaulted. It's not rough sex as some of you dicks put it. I don't give a rat's arse if you think abortion is a sin or the killing of a baby. Come and raise the baby or give us money to raise the baby or hire us a live-in maid to tend to my girlfriend's every need while she is pregnant if you're so sanctimonious. Talk the talk, then walk the walk, you wanking tit baboons. My girlfriend was absolutely clear she wanted to raise the baby, probably influenced by the mom. Thanks for all the people telling me I did the right thing. It was really difficult. I'm very glad it turned out the way it has though. To the people who PM'd me telling me I'm a monstrous baby killer, I fail to see what my hobbies have to do with this issue. Update 2. I was hoping to post here again after the abortion, still scheduled for 2 weeks' time, but I thought I should provide an update on some recent events from a mother from the pits of Satan's rectum. On Saturday, I answered my door and stood face to face with 2 police officers. My heart immediately sank. They asked me if I was who I was, and I replied that I was. I couldn't help but feel a surge of anxiety, wondering what this was about. They then said they were looking for my girlfriend. I called her over, my voice shaking a bit, and she appeared, looking confused and scared. The police officer said that he needed to have a word with her. My girlfriend's face went pale, and I could see the fear in her eyes. I tried to stay calm for her sake, but I could feel my own worry rising. I stepped back to let the officers in, hoping that whatever this was about, it wouldn't make things even worse for her. The officers then split, one taking the girlfriend to the living room, we let them in, and the other took me into my bedroom. The officer who took me started asking me questions about how long my girlfriend had been here. He wanted to know if she had any contact with anyone else and if she had left the house at all. His questions seemed endless, each one more invasive than the last. I answered them all, trying to stay composed despite my growing frustration. I could sense the suspicion in his tone, and it made me uneasy. After answering a few more questions, I finally asked what this was all about. The officer just said they received a report to check on my girlfriend. My heart raced as I wondered who could have made such a report and why. When I pressed further and asked who reported it, the officer said he couldn't say. His response left me feeling even more anxious and confused. It felt like we were being scrutinized for something we had no control over. After a while, the other officer was done, and they both left. The moment the door closed behind them, my girlfriend burst into tears. She told me that she was outright asked if she was in danger and if I had been hurting her. The officers even asked if she was being held against her will. She said no to everything, of course, but the questions had shaken her. She felt violated and scared. Then she revealed that the police had received a call from her mother, claiming she might be in danger and that I could be abusive to her. The accusation hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't believe her own mother would go that far. It felt like a betrayal, and the fact that she would try to use the police to drive a wedge between us made me furious. My girlfriend was devastated, caught between her loyalty to her mother and the reality of our situation. I was livid the moment she told me what her mother had done. Rage boiled up inside me. I couldn't believe the nerve of her mother, accusing me of something so vile and trying to use the police to interfere in our lives. I immediately said I was going to press charges against her. For what? I didn't know exactly. Harassment, probably. Anything to hold her accountable for this madness. I couldn't just stand by and let her get away with trying to destroy us like this. My girlfriend looked at me with wide, tear-filled eyes, clearly torn between wanting to protect her mother and understanding my anger. The betrayal stung deeply, and I needed to do something, anything, to fight back against the injustice of it all. My girlfriend begged me not to and said that it would all just blow over and that she just needs time to calm down. What the hell? She sent the police to my house to get me arrested. How was that sane thinking? Couldn't wrap my head around it. The sheer audacity of it all left me reeling. I could lose my job if I was arrested and charged. My career, my livelihood, everything I had worked so hard for could be shattered because of her unfounded accusations. What the hell is she thinking? It felt like she was trying to ruin my life and our relationship all in one fell swoop. The implications were terrifying, and the fact that someone so close to my girlfriend could be so reckless and malicious was beyond comprehension. The weight of it all pressed down on me, and I felt like I was teetering on the edge of a precipice. I told my girlfriend that if the mother does anything like this again, I will definitely press charges. So the girlfriend decides on Sunday to talk to the mom to not do anything like this again. They had a conversation for about 2 minutes. Then I started hearing sobs. Immediately, I walked into the room, saw my girlfriend was crying, still holding the phone against her ear. I plucked her phone from her hand and held her for a bit as I heard, "Hello?" from the phone. Then I put it on me and said, "You're a disgrace of a mother," and hung up. Then I held the girlfriend for what felt like an hour before we started talking. Apparently, the mother was telling girlfriend how if she continues with the abortion, she will never see the mother again or her brother or her deceased father who is in heaven, even though he died a drunk, violent alcoholic who beat girlfriend. But hey, repent your sins at death. Am I right? Because girlfriend would be going to damnation. I told my girlfriend that if she was going to hell, then she should save me a seat and we'd be nice and toasty together. I love her smile. What do you think? If anything, should I do about the mother? No doubt my words to her will have some reactions. Update 3. I just wanted to update folk on this whole saga. This will be my final update. A few days ago, the abortion was carried out. During the weeks beforehand, my girlfriend went to a counselor and talked to a nurse about why she wanted an abortion. She was also tested for any STIs. She's clear. She went ahead with the abortion after getting the all clear a few days ago. It was successfully carried out. They went for the surgical abortion method, which involved using a vacuum to suck the pregnancy out. My girlfriend said it was pretty painless and she was able to return home after just a few hours. When she came home, she cried and cried and cried. The floodgates opened, and all the pain and relief came pouring out at once. I held her tightly, feeling the weight of her emotions in every sob that racked her body. She says she feels like a huge weight had been lifted, and for the first time in months, I saw a glimmer of hope in her eyes. She can finally look to move on with her life. The burden of the unwanted pregnancy, the constant reminder of the attack, was finally gone. She told me how she felt like she could breathe again, how the shadows of that terrible night were starting to recede. It was the first step towards healing, and even though we knew there was a long road ahead, this moment felt like a turning point. We took the whole week off work, needing some time to ourselves to process everything and just be together. Yesterday, we went camping. It rained, of course, because that's just our luck. But even the rain couldn't dampen our spirits. We huddled together in the tent, listening to the sound of raindrops pattering against the fabric. It felt cozy and safe, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past few months. While in the tent, she talked about how difficult life was sometimes. She opened up about her struggles, the pain, and the moments when she felt like she couldn't go on. But she also talked about how she was really glad things turned out the way they did. Despite everything, she felt a sense of relief and a newfound strength. She said that even though things were bad, she came out the other side probably stronger than before. Her resilience amazed me, and I couldn't help but feel hopeful for the future. We knew there would still be challenges ahead, but in that moment, huddled together in our little tent, it felt like we could face anything as long as we were together. She's amazing, man, seriously. Update on the mom. So my girlfriend received a call from her mom, who was asking if she went through with the abortion. My girlfriend and I have an agreement that if her mom calls, either hang up or give it to me. We decided on this to protect her from any more emotional manipulation. In this instance, she answered the call out of habit and didn't know what to say. The moment she heard her mother's voice, she froze. She looked at me with wide eyes, panic written all over her face, and handed me the phone without saying a word. I took the phone and braced myself. Her mother immediately launched into a tirade, demanding to know if the abortion had been carried out. I told her that the abortion went perfectly. As soon as I said those words, she unleashed a stream of curses at me, her voice dripping with venom. I listened for about a minute, letting her get it all out, a slight smile playing on my lips at the absurdity of it all. When she finally paused for breath, I calmly said, "How Jesus of you," and hung up. My girlfriend didn't find it funny. Anyway, that's it. The silence that followed was heavy, but it felt like a small victory. My girlfriend gave me a grateful look, relief washing over her face. We knew her mother wouldn't take the news well, but standing up to her felt like reclaiming a bit of our own power. Good luck to everyone in their lives. Also, if you're going to message and insult me via PM, just be warned. I've killed a baby before, in your opinion. What do you think about this story? Please leave your comment below to let me know. Now on to the next story. Story 10. Fiancé's best friend has completely ignored my existence for 6 years. When I confronted him, he admitted, "I know she treats you like garbage, but defended her because what if we break up? My fiancé and I have been together just under 6 years. Dated 3, engaged 2.5. Great relationship, relatively. Our friends and family all get along well with the other person, no issues at all. Except for one of my partner's best friends. Said best friend has never liked me and seemingly had it out for me the entire time. She basically ignores my existence and refuses to speak or be cordial to me. But as soon as she sees my partner, she yells and hugs him saying, 'Hey best friend,' while ignoring me even though I'm right next to him. I told him about it and how it made me feel, and at first it went unaddressed 2 to 3 more times because he needed proof to make sure there was an issue. After said proof was present, he spoke to her about it and she got a little better, but only around groups of people, and like twice she indicated she didn't have a problem with me, so he felt I was the only one having an issue and I needed to just approach her and talk it out. I told him I'm not doing that, 'cause she isn't my friend and he needs to do so. A couple of weeks ago, we attended a mutual friend's party. I attempted to make eye contact and say hello 2 to 3 times, but she avoided me and refused to look at me the whole time. My fiancé noticed because it was so blatant. I don't want her respect, don't need her to like me, and don't honestly want her around at all. I just want her to have basic human decency. This situation has caused me to rethink my relationship and end it because I feel my fiancé is in the wrong for engaging with her after seeing how she completely disregards me. I think now, but mostly after marriage, we're supposed to be a unit, and I wouldn't allow this behavior from a friend. I've been feeling like in shit because we spent the better half of a nice, drunken evening arguing about this, and I told him she can't come to our wedding, as I won't have someone who can't seem to stand me near me. IDA for telling my fiancé she can't come to our wedding? Date 1. The comments on my original post opened my eyes and made me realize that despite this being the healthiest relationship I've been in, it doesn't mean it's actually healthy. We've had a couple of conversations surrounding this issue, which mostly consisted of me saying it bothered me and him saying I was the only one who cared. A couple of things helped me realize my breaking point. 1. I asked him if he would be okay with our daughter's future partner treating them like this, to which he got flustered, shut down, and said he didn't want to talk about it. I left it alone. 2. He said he didn't want to end his friendship or do anything to jeopardize it because what if we break up? This made me realize he would not protect me as his wife since he didn't as his girlfriend. The final straw was when I expressed how much it bothered me that he wanted me to blow this off since we, as in me and the best friend, only see each other 4 to 6 times a year. And he said, directly quoted, "Because this is burned into my brain. I know the way she treats you is garbage, but you're allowing one person to dictate our relationship. Could be worse. She could be more active. There are worse ways to meddle. People text and lie and all that to break relationships up." The first line broke my heart and told me all I needed to know. I had to truck through a couple more months of pre-planned and paid for social engagements. But I closed the curtain on any chance of healing this relationship the moment those words left his mouth. Thank you everyone for the advice, common sense knocking me upside my head, and similar related experiences and outcomes. I'm going to go to therapy and redefine what a healthy, balanced, and communicative relationship is. Edit 1. The pre-planned events aren't wedding/engagement related. We share a home and need to divide assets, pets, and a custody schedule. Additionally, we have vacations planned with a mutually shared friend group. BF is not part of that group. I appreciate the concerns, but I need to plan things out a little more. There will be no second chance to those that keep saying they're sleeping together probably. When I first brought this up, he became stressed and kept emphasizing how I thought he was sleeping with his best friend and didn't address the issue that was brought up. I don't care to know or confirm. Edit 2. We are not getting married. Continuing our relationship for those thinking, I'm using the pre-planned events to justify holding out. Absolutely not. Our relationship was dead the moment he admitted she treated me like garbage and basically shrugged it off. As a note, I never asked him to cut anyone off out of his life. I simply asked for basic greetings and acknowledgement during the rare encounters with his BFF. This hasn't happened aside from a couple of begrudging times. Final edit. I tried asking him the "what would you tell your daughter to do" question. He answered that if she loved her partner, she shouldn't care about outside PPL. Additionally, he said he was tired of talking about it. He feels he's done all he can, and he doesn't want me, to bring her up because he's tired of talking about it. I told him our relationship is done in September when our lease is up, etc. Apologized for bringing it up and asked if he wanted to be alone for the evening. Thank you everyone for helping me realize I wasn't asking for too much. I really thought he was the one for me, but I wasn't thinking straight. I'm tired, and I want better for myself. I'm okay with being alone. I appreciate you all. Have a good night. Update 2. My ex-fiancé did begin to make an effort to include me and make sure I was addressed during group events, even though we'd already separated. Throughout the summer, we had many conversations, not in hopes of reconciling, but mostly to make sure he truly understood the cause of our breakup. While drunk, he apologized for his messy and toxic friends, said he needed to reevaluate his friendships, and apologized for bringing them into my life. He changed his tune in later sober convos. I was met with continued excuses and my p.v/feelings being brushed off. This isn't that big of a deal. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I have friends that have done worse. The explanation/insight I received is that the best friend was a side piece knowingly for like 7 to 10 years. Guy had a baby and brought his baby mother a house, car, and basically got married, all while stringing the friend along. And as a result, the BFF has since always asserted herself as being the most important woman in her male friends' lives. All in all, just gonna go to therapy, heal some shit, move on. I'm starting piano lessons soon and taking a language class to pass my free time. Also focusing on cooking again and moving my body. I'm gonna lose about 40 to 50 pounds. Thanks everyone for commenting, offering solutions and alternative POV, including those who felt I was making a big deal out of nothing and that I was trying to make her be friends with me. Never wanted that. I felt crazy for a while, but I'm thankful for the random strangers on Reddit confirming I'm not. Now on to the next story. Story 11. Proposed to my girlfriend and started planning our wedding, but then she suggested a threesome with her crush, so I canceled our wedding. Now her family is blaming me for it. So this is quite a long and sad story that I need to vent, as it's really hard for me to deal with so far. I, 24M, recently proposed to my now ex-fiancé, 23F, after 2 years of dating. We met through mutual friends at work. We started talking as friends, we went on dates, and on New Year's Eve we officially started dating. During the beginning of our relationship, she mentioned this guy, Marvin. According to her, Marvin has always had a crush on her, and during the first months of our relationship, he texted her several times asking her to leave me and give him a chance. We used to say how pathetic this guy was and how she despises him for suggesting she would leave me for him. I must clarify, I'm nothing special. I'm a 5 feet 4 inches Asian nerdy guy. Time goes by, and after 2 years of dating, I decided to propose to her. So on New Year's Eve, I gave her the ring, and she said yes in front of her whole family. I have some money saved. She doesn't work, so I started looking for venues, catering, invitations, decor, and everything. I spent a high amount of money as her parents are not in the position to help with the expenses, and I have enough savings to go through this comfortably. One day, while we're running errands, we started talking about having a threesome. We are in our 20s, so there are a lot of things we want to try. We discussed for a while on how we could find someone, and she quickly says, I have someone in mind. I asked, who? And she replies with, Marvin. I know that was the first red flag, but I let it pass. I asked why him, and she just answered she was sexually attracted to him. I asked about why she would say she hated him first, and then choose him as her first option for a threesome, and she replies, it's only a one-time thing. So I told her it was okay, but we needed to talk later to set rules, limits, and I would like to talk to him personally before giving the green light. During the next couple of days, she's acting really excited, and she comes to me, showing me hotels and when we are going to meet with him and how exciting everything is. I told her we need to talk things first as it's not as easy as it sounds, and we need to have some limits. After that, she calmed down for a day or two and starts to bring the subject up again. We reached a point where she insisted so much and brought the subject up so many times. I ended up saying to her that she either calmed down or no threesome is going to happen. She apologized and mentioned I was right, but something didn't feel right. That afternoon, we were having a nap, and while she was sleeping, I went through her phone, and I found how she was cheating on me with him for a couple months now. They have been meeting while I was working, and she even sent him one of those BDSM tests you can find online to see if his kinks matched with hers. To say I was furious is an understatement. She woke up while I was checking the phone, and I confronted her. She started crying, saying she was sorry and how she didn't know what she was doing. I packed my things and stormed out to stay at a hotel. That night, I got a call from her parents saying how I was ruining the engagement and acting as a baby, while I was the one who brought the topic of the threesome and how her daughter wasn't at fault. I hung up without saying anything and started canceling everything I had for the wedding. She called me the next day apologizing and asking me to come back. Her whole family is sending texts asking me to man up, as I was the one at fault for not breaking the engagement. A hole for canceling everything? Update 1. September 5th, 2024. Hey guys, thanks for everyone's advice. I appreciate the support and the mean comments. Both perspectives were helpful. Now let me address just a few things before continuing. My ex stopped working to go to college. We met at work, but she quit once we moved in together. Yes, my now ex-fiancée told her parents we were breaking up because I suggested the threesome and got mad when she mentioned Marvin, and her parents believed her. Yes, I needed reassurance to make sure I was not the one at fault. I've been conditioned all my life to be a doormat, so it was hard to stand up for myself. Here's the update. After seeing all your messages, I reached out to my future in-law, FIL. So we agreed to meet at a nearby mall to talk about the reasons why I broke the engagement. I did have a good relationship with him as we both share the same interests and hobbies, so I figured we could have a conversation. We met, and even though he looked mad, he agreed to listen. I did take screenshots of the conversations my ex-fiancée had with Marvin, and I showed them to him. After looking at everything, he told me my ex gave them a totally different story. According to what he told me, my ex went to them crying, saying I was breaking the engagement because I wanted to have a threesome, and once she picked Marvin as the third, I snapped at her. He also mentioned Marvin has been going to check on my ex since my ex has been staying with him after we broke up. We went to my apartment and packed all of her belongings to move her out. The ring was at the apartment as well, so I kept it. We're on our way to drop everything to her right now. I will keep you guys updated. Update 2. September 15th, 2024. Hey guys, I'm back. I know you'll have been waiting for this update. I had to create a new account because I got shadow banned on the other one. I apologize for the delay. So after picking up my ex's belongings, me and my FIL drove to his house. The ride there was awkward, to say the least. When we got there, we walked in and we saw my MIL, my ex, and guess who else? Exactly, Marvin. They were all in the living room. My ex looked like she had been crying for a while. Marvin was hugging her, and my MIL was seated next to her with a box of tissues. My MIL saw me enter and started asking FIL what I was doing there. He responded, "We all need to talk about the situation," and he came to clarify some things. We all sat down, and Marvin was about to leave the room when FIL said, "No, please stay. You're part of this too." Marvin sat down, but you could see he was not holding up well. His right leg was bouncing, and he tried his best not to make eye contact with me or my ex. FIL started saying that I accepted to continue with the engagement, which made MIL and my ex smile. However, I had one condition. Marvin must show him his WhatsApp conversation with my ex to him. At that moment, I was shocked. I was about to argue, however, I understood something. Most likely my ex had deleted the convo with Marvin, but there was a chance Marvin didn't. Marvin tried to protest, but my FIL insisted and asked him to do this for her daughter. My ex and Marvin glanced at each other, and my ML was quiet looking at FIL. Finally, after that, Marvin stood up and left without saying anything else. My ex started crying again, and my FIL told her to shut up. He said I had shown him screenshots of their conversations, and he was disappointed to raise a cheating daughter. MAL was in disbelief, so I showed her the screenshots too. They both screamed at her. How could she do something like that, on top of lying to their faces? At the end, my FIL went to unload her belongings in the driveway and told her to look for some other place to stay, as she wasn't welcome there anymore. FIL apologized to me and told me he would like to keep in touch to make sure I was okay. I came back home after all of that happened feeling empty. NGL, I think it was the adrenaline wearing off. I got one call from my ex, but I didn't answer it. I blocked the number and spoke with security at my building to trespass her if she comes by. I posted on FB and Instagram about what happened and made sure to post the screenshots of the conversation to make sure she cannot twist the situation with friends and family. I will get most of my money after canceling the venue, catering, and other stuff, so I'm planning to move to another state. I got some STD tests done and I'm clean, and I'll be selling the ring to get my money back. So far, that's the update. I don't think I will update anymore on this, but I want to thank everyone, good and bad comments. Hopefully everything goes better now. Now on to the next story. Story 12. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my parents after my mom refused to care for me postpartum? Even though she did it for my siblings? Throwaway account and my English writing is really bad. Please bear with me. So, I, 28 female, am 30 weeks pregnant with my first child and I'm about to move to another state. Mom has this thing where she takes care of my siblings when they give birth until they recover. She has done it for my older sister and my brother's wife, so I thought that she would do the same thing with me too. But a week ago, she told me that she couldn't because it is too far away. We got into a fight about the whole thing and I told her to get out of my house and now we are not talking. Before you judge me and say that my mom isn't obligated to take care of me, I will tell you that it isn't about mom taking care of me. It was never about that. I am that one child in the family who nobody really cares about. My parents always claim that they love and treat us all equally. But man, is it obvious that they love me a little bit less than the others. I always thought that maybe I am adopted and that's why they don't care about me that much. Well, I am wrong because I am 100% theirs. It is always about how my other siblings are doing or how mom and dad are suffering, but it is never about me. It was never about me from the beginning. I rarely celebrate, even if it is supposed to be my day. My birthdays, they rarely celebrated because mom and dad forgot or they just threw everything in the house and called it a birthday. High school graduation party? Nope. My parents have already wasted a lot of money for my big brother's college graduation party, so they can't do that. But they will make sure to make it up to me. Do you think that ever happened? I will give you a minute or two. If you guess no, then congrats, you guessed right. Yay! They shared the wedding expenses of my siblings' wedding, but since my husband came from a good family, they don't have to share wedding expenses. Not my words. I have always been the therapist who listens to my mom and dad's rough day, or the one who needs to help mom because my older siblings have a lot of school work to do, or because my younger siblings are too young to do that kind of work. They always tell me that I am a good daughter, but I am never the one who they brag about to their friends. I did everything in my power to make them proud, but my achievements will always be below my siblings. I have tried to talk to them about how I feel multiple times before, but the only thing I get is a hard scolding about how I was getting spoiled. I hated my life until I got out of that house, but I never had the courage to let go of them, thinking that they would change. Well, my mom just proved me wrong. Mind you that my older sister lives a whole-ass ocean away from me, but mom decided that taking a 10-plus-hour flight to another continent twice was not hard at all. But all of a sudden, taking a 4-hour ride to my home was too much, especially when I am in a place where I don't know anyone except my husband. I am so tired of them putting everyone else above me. So, I will make things right between us until I leave because I don't want to end things on a bad note. And when I get to my new house, I will just cut all contact between us. I don't think that I have the energy to do all of this crap anymore. And besides, I have my lovely husband with me, so I will be all right and build myself a new family where I am truly appreciated and loved for who I am. Note: I am the third out of 5 children. My younger siblings are twins. Comments. Comment 1, NTA. Tell her you can't keep in touch. It is too far away. Comment 2, NTA. Yes, I agree with you. Make nice with your mom while you're visiting this time and minimize contact when you get back to your own home. It could be that your mother wants you to beg, plead. Oh, mommy, pretty please come help me. I need you. But my reaction is, F that game playing. Put your energy on your husband and build a new support network where y'all live now. Comment 3, NTA. Put them on a strict information diet. Stay off socials. Inform your husband and his family that you want nothing posted on social media. Do not let them know when the baby is born or when you go into labor. Do not answer the phone, respond to email, text, etc. Put them on a ban list at the hospital if you have to. Gather more evidence of them singling you out. Then when asked by others, you give them the full story. Maybe shame will cure them. Update 3 months later. Hello. First, I would like to thank everyone for their kind advice. I was honestly shocked when I saw all of these messages. I really appreciate it. A lot has happened since my last post. I tried to call my parents, but they were blocked and I couldn't reach them. But I was determined to get the closure that the younger version of me wanted. So I called my older brother and I asked him if we could meet up and talk about the situation. He told me that he won't meet up with me after what I've done to our mother. And he berated me, saying that I was an ungrateful person and that mom is in a lot of stress and pain because of me. I told him that it wasn't fair for him to just assume that I was the villain and that he couldn't even understand my point of view because they didn't treat him like they treated me my whole life. He knew that they treated me like their personal chef, maid, and therapist for years, but they couldn't even give me the love and attention that I wanted for once in my whole damn life. He basically screamed at me through the phone that I was a piece of trash for saying that and that mom and dad treated us all equally, but I was just a damn narcissist who can't think about anyone but myself. I tried to talk, but my emotions got the better of me and I started breaking down on the phone, and he hung up on me. I even started asking myself if I was really the narcissist that my family seemed to think of me, but my husband came to the rescue and helped me through all of this. But the doubt that maybe I was in the wrong still lingered in my head. I guess my brother told my parents that I called him because Dad called about 2 days after that and asked me to meet up at their house. I was about to say no, but I couldn't because his voice was filled with remorse, so I thought that maybe, just maybe, we could get past the whole thing and I could drop the thought of cutting contact, even if my mom doesn't want to help out. After like 3 days of talking to my dad, me and my husband went to their house to talk. I thought that it was going to be me, my husband, and my parents talking, but they invited my brother and his wife. As soon as we sat, my dad started talking about how disappointed he was with me and that things shouldn't have led to this. I told him that he was right, things shouldn't have escalated to where they are now, but I assumed that since mom helped take care of my sister and my brother's wife, she would do the same, but she just favored everyone else above me, and it was frustrating. I told them about how I felt for the past years, and I told them everything that I said to you guys, but all of them acted like they didn't care, which honestly hurt like hell. I knew at that moment that I didn't mean anything to them, So why was I fighting to be a part of a family that didn't want me? My husband was going to speak, but I told him not to. Everyone gave their opinions about it, basically blaming me, and then Dad asked me if I wanted to say anything to Mom. I told her that I was sorry because I didn't want any type of bad blood between us before I close this chapter and move on with my life, but she didn't say anything back. And Dad said that we needed some time cooling off and setting some boundaries, and I guess that was it between us. In the next 2 weeks, we were packing and leaving the state. I didn't tell anyone about where my new house will be. Only once I got there and settled down did I write a long message about everything they did and how I felt, and at the end of the message, I told them that I was completely cutting contact with my parents and older brother. I changed my phone number and blocked all of my family from my social media, and you know what? My life has never been this peaceful in a long time. I am happy about everything, and my baby will arrive any day now. It is honestly stressful, but I love it so much. We hired a helper around the house because why not? Now my day consists of sleep, take a walk, eat some more, have back and hip pains, and repeat, which honestly isn't that bad. Thank you for reading. Comments. Comment 1. Sounds like you finally chose peace over drama. Wishing you all the happiness with your little one. Comment 2. Yep, sometimes family is just a title. You don't owe them anything if they don't treat you with love and respect. Comment 3. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. You gave them every chance and they showed you exactly who they are. Now you get to build a family that actually deserves you. Wishing you nothing but peace and joy with your little one. Now on to the next story. Story 13. My elderly mom's new friend gives me a bad vibe, prompting me to uncover hidden motives and protect her from potential financial harm. Original post. I cannot for the life of me figure out why I feel like this, but all of my spidey senses are tingling on this woman. Here's a bit of the background. My 40F elderly mom, 70F, has been ill for quite some time and is on hospice. She was living in an independent living place where it was all elderly people in apartment-type units. She has been living there for about 6 or 7 months and made a few casual old people friends, but mostly kept to herself, so I thought. A couple weeks ago, my boys and I were visiting my mom. We live right down the street and visit often. When a woman walked up to us with my mom, I extended my hand to introduce myself to this woman when she dismissed the handshake and instead went in for a hug and said, "Oh, I only do hugs for family, and we're pretty much family." Okay, a little weird coming from someone I've never met before and also never even heard a single mention of her. But I pretty much brush it off, thinking to myself that she's probably just really lonely or something. I asked my mom about this new friend, and she just says that they met there at the old people place and she's been a really good friend to her. Great. I love when my mom has friends. It's important to have friends. But this woman just keeps giving me weird vibes, and I can't pinpoint why. A few things that seem odd to me. My mom is moving to a more traditional apartment complex this weekend, and this new friend liked the new apartment complex so much that she decided to move to the same place as well. Her apartment isn't ready yet, but she'll be moving to the same complex as my mom next month. She apparently bought my mom's dog, I have the world's best auntie sweatshirt for Christmas. They had known each other for maybe 2 months at that point. She called the other day too. I don't really know why. I guess she gave me her phone number and more formally introduced herself to me. She talked about doing a lot of caretaking stuff for my mom. Oh, I can manage her medications for her if you want. So I replied that while I appreciate the offer, there's a lot of controlled medications and hospice prefers to keep minimal people involved in the medicine stuff, and that taking on caretaking responsibilities for a friend can get exhausting, so it might be best for them to just focus on being friends rather than her wearing herself out trying to take care of her. She immediately went to my mom and made it sound like I was shit-talking my own mom, saying how she's just an exhausting person. Blah blah. When I confronted my new friend about going to my mom and relaying our private conversation in a totally twisted way, the friend lied and said that my mom had grabbed her phone and read it all in the text messages. It was over the phone and not at all via text messages. When I pointed out there were no texts, she just kind of stumbled, and I dropped it because I knew it wouldn't get anywhere. Every time I talk to my mom on the phone, I hear this woman telling her what to say or adding comments in, and none of it is outwardly worrisome things, but it feels like I can't have any conversation with just my mom. I'm a very trusting person who generally tries to see the best in people, and this woman has not given me any concrete reasons to doubt her intentions, and has in fact been very friendly and polite to me in all of our interactions. Nonetheless, I can't shake this feeling that there's something wrong here. I sat my mom down yesterday and had a conversation with her about my feelings towards this new friend. And she didn't get defensive at all but disagreed with me and said that her new friend is just being kind and offering to help with stuff because she knows my mom is not the most organized of people and could use the help. I begged my mom to please be cautious and to take the friendship slow and to keep it simply as a friendship and let me, her actual family, handle caretaking stuff. Despite no changes in medications, my mom has been more confused lately and comes across to me like she's overtaken medication, but I only give her 1 dose at a time, and the rest is locked up at all times. So it isn't that. But just to be safe, since she's been more confused lately, I took my mom's credit and debit cards so no one can take advantage of her financially. Reddit, please help me figure out what this woman would have to gain in coming between my mom and I if it isn't medication or money. I don't know how to do a background search or if that's legal for any random person to do, but I did look this new friend up on a couple websites, and all I learned from that is that she has a lot of also known as names, but I can't find anything else. I'll pay for a background search if anyone has a recommendation for good ones. We're in California. Does any of this raise any red flags to anyone else? Or am I just being too overprotective of my mom on this? Oh, I almost forgot. I called one of my mom's oldest and closest friends the other day and asked her if she's met this new friend, and if so, what her impression was. She said, "Honestly, I don't know why I feel like this, but I just get a bad feeling about her. I just feel like she's up to no good." Hearing this made me feel better and that I'm not the only one to pick up on something, but I don't know what, if anything, to do about it all. Update 1. Thank you so much for all of the responses and heartfelt advice. I'm so sorry to have been MIA for so long after I originally posted, but it's just been a lot. I needed to take a beat to take it all in and deal with the punches from real life that kept coming my way. Immediately after I posted last, I went to talk with my mom. I explained my concerns, and she agreed to the 2 cameras I put up in her apartment. On moving day, I was out of the apartment for a few minutes taking my kids back to my house when I logged onto the camera app to test out the settings. I overheard my mom and the friend talking about me. It was not very nice and very much seemed like the friend was just teeing things up to come between my mom and I. My mom was playing right into it. The friend, I'll just call her Fran to make it easier, was gone when I got back to the apartment, but I got into it with my mom. I was crying, telling her how hurtful it is to hear my own mother participating in a negative conversation about me after everything I do and have done for her. She cried, I cried, it was awful. But at the end, I had at least convinced her that Fran was up to no good. Mom agreed to create some distance between her and Fran, and she immediately told Fran that her behavior towards me was not going to fly any longer, and all talk of anything to do with me was off limits. Fran seemed to understand and blamed her behavior towards me on some flimsy excuse that I didn't buy for a second. All was calm for a week or so when one morning I called my mom to check in on her only to find out she was with Fran out running errands. When I pushed for more information, I uncovered that Fran had taken my mom to the bank so that my mom could obtain a new debit card. Fran very much knew I had taken my mom's debit card with my mom's blessing because my mom was having episodes of increased confusion and wasn't aware of who or what she was spending money on because my mom had forgotten she had given me her previous debit card. That was the final straw for me. That night, I sent Fran the following text message. "Hi Fran, Mom told me about you guys going to the bank today to get a card, and I just wanted to let you know that I know. I know my mom appreciates your friendship, but that I do not appreciate your getting yourself involved in things you have no business being involved in. Mom and I have her finances under control between the 2 of us, and we do not need any assistance getting her squared away, no matter how well-meaning. She's asked me to take her card again, the new one, and has put me as the main account holder so I can be sure she has access to what she needs, but that no one else does. I want to believe you're coming from a sincere place of just wanting to help my mom, but it complicates friendships greatly when you get into financial territory. I handle all of my mom's finances and medical stuff, and it's working for us that way. My mom very much appreciates having you as her friend, but she doesn't need a caretaker. I've got that covered. If you sincerely want to be her friend, you need to take 10 giant steps back and check yourself regarding how you're coming across to me because from my perspective, it very much looks like you are dancing precariously close to the elder abuse line, and I'm sure you wouldn't want me to get the authorities involved here, but that's exactly what will happen if things continue down this path. Fran responded with some BS reply akin to, "Oh my word, I would never take advantage of anyone, and I just wanted to help your mom, blah blah blah. Oh, and I think you and I have gotten off on the wrong foot, daughter, which is my fault, but I'd like to start over again, more blah blah blah." I never replied to Fran further, and she has shockingly not really reached out to my mom since. I believe she is due to move into the apartment complex this weekend though, so we shall see if she pops back up out of the woodwork. I think she understands that I see through her attempts to come between my mom and I, and that she'll need to focus her efforts to scam people somewhere else. I notified my mom's hospice nurses and her social worker as well. I also bought a really super cool medication dispenser. I won't name it because I'm not plugging anything, but feel free to reach out to me if anyone has family members that they need some help managing medications for. It's expensive and probably cost prohibitive for a lot of folks, but it has been a game changer for me to keep my mom's medicine safe and organized. That is locked and syncs up to an app, so I get notified every time it dispenses a medication. That made me feel much better about Fran not having any access whatsoever to my mom's prescriptions, but the trip to the bank showed me exactly what Fran was after. I notified the bank that if Fran is with my mom, they are to contact me immediately. All in all, I think most of you were correct. Fran was using my mom for money, or she was trying to, but luckily I caught it before much damage was done. I think I've made my position on Fran clear to her, which is why she is staying away. I think I still need to contact the independent living facility about my concerns with Fran because I swear I'm not making this up. My mom says that Fran is going to be working at the independent living facility after she moves out, and I don't want her to be in a position to take advantage of anyone else. Thank you again to everyone who replied and reached out to me with resources and/or advice. I read every reply, and I actually read a number of them to my mom as well. It really helped her to see Fran for who she really is. Update 2. September 30th, 2024. Thank you to those who keep checking in with me, asking how my mom is doing and if there's any updates. Original post here. First update post here. My mom is still on hospice and doing okay, all things considered. She has her good and her bad days, but she has been mostly lucid lately, and I'm grateful for that. Fran has been mostly MIA, thank goodness, ever since I told her in no uncertain terms to beat it. The only time I have heard from her since was when my mom's phone wasn't working, and Fran called me and left a message wanting to know if my mom was okay. I left her to read, so that told me that my mom hasn't cut her out completely, although she tells me she has. But I have, with my mom's blessing, taken control of any avenue Fran could possibly use to take advantage of my mother. I alerted the hospice nurses and social worker, and I let Fran know that I had done that as well. My mom also finally made some better friends who live nearby, and they also helped keep an eye on her for me. I did not go to the police as I didn't feel I had a case to do so, but I did let Fran know I wouldn't hesitate to do so if given a reason. If Fran comes back around my mom or gives me any reason to think something is up, I'll update you all to let you know, but as of now my mom is safe. I handle all her medication as well as her finances, so no one can weasel their way in to try to take anything at all away from my mom. Thank you to everyone for your care and concern. Relevant comments. Comment. They want her pills. OP. I thought the same thing, which is why I locked them up tight. My mom agreed to a camera right over her dispenser so we can keep eyes on her medications at all times. The machine I got her is pretty cool too and alerts me via text if the machine door is ever opened. Not that it could be because it has a passcode on it that even my mom doesn't know. So there's lots of safeguards in place to ensure no one gets into any of her stuff at all. We have reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.